Welcome to the NACE Star League studio. Tonight, you join us for two exciting best-of-3 Valorant matches as collegiate teams face their second week of competition and our first week of broadcasting here in the NACE Star League studio. I'm your host, Jacob Palmer. I am joined by Greg Holsel-Smith, Gem and Holsel, ready to bring you all of the action here for tonight. And Greg was researching our first two universities that are going to be competing here tonight, Wichita State versus James Madison, the Shockers versus the Dukes. And Greg, you were researching about these interesting mascots that the universities have. A bit of an interesting story between the two. Yeah, just a little bit. The James Madison University has gone through a few name changes over the years, and all to honor their presidents over the years as well. So after they were the Women's College and then changed to James Madison and James Madison University in '77, they had another president which took them the Duke Dog. And the Duke Dog is their mascot, sporting the beautiful purple and gold colors that they're wearing in today's match. The Shockers have the shock of wheat across their emblem as well, and they're proud to be in the heart of the Midwest, in the largest city in Kansas. It's going to be a proud battle between the two. I never knew that it was a shock of wheat. There's your interesting fact for the day. But we've been talking about the lineup that we have. Let's take a look at the full play of events that we have for tonight. As I said, we're starting out with Wichita State going up against James Madison, and then we'll throw it over to Mizzou versus Southern Miss, which, even though these schools aren't in the same conference, they're close enough to be considered regional rivals. And I always like those types of matches, always a little bit of chippiness between the two teams. So that should prove exciting. Now to talk about the general framework that we have for the games. It's going to be best of 3, starting out on Ascent, then moving to Lotus, and then Haven should it go to a Game 3 tiebreaker. So if you like 3-point stages, tonight's going to be the night for you. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to that. But to kick it off, not in a 3-point stage, Ascent, we love to just call it the map of maps. It's a beautiful training ground, and it's a beautiful playground, and it's where you queue up the first time you boot the game just to learn how it all happens. So this is going to be a beautiful comparison of what's going down as we have the rosters here. And it's going to start off Wichita State, Thiessen, Truman, Cams, Sui, and Keebs. And James Madison's captain, Henry P., as well as Duraco, Ham, Darby, and Caruso. And these players they're longtime players. If you actually look at their websites, you can see stories about them leaving their computer on for days just to get the beta keys, and they played through high school and they've been playing through college. These teams are serious, and they're looking forward to playing in with each other. Yeah, I remember those days. It was a gold rush to just get one of the beta keys. So you can tell a player is really devoted and knows everything inside and out about Valorant. So I'm looking forward to some top tier gameplay, and especially as we're starting off on a set, we're talking about one of the classic stages. It's a stage that everyone should know inside and out, everyone practice, and it has a little bit of everything. It has those long sidelines for the op. It's got some wall bannable areas going into B, and it should test the full repertoire of the player's skills. Yeah, and I think that's important to then have some varied maps, some really fresh ones, and Haven, which has gone through a few changes over the years. And these players that have been here a long time and have seen the metas change should be able to leverage those quirks into their advantage. So I'd love to see some high-level play with a lot of good synergy and really just leveraging the current meta against their opponents. So now, talking about the current meta, we are going to be talking about the agent selection. We're starting off on Ascent, so the same general rules that we know for Ascent apply. I mean, are we going to be seeing a Killjoy, as kind of a default pick, or has anything changed during the summer into this fall semester? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, team comfortability is number one, because pretty viable on any map is to just take one of each class of player and then double up on whoever you think you can leverage the best. So I don't anticipate us seeing a lot of the very, very fresh ones like we might see Gecko. Gecko has had enough time on the board that people have kind of figured out his situation, and they love the little wingman and everything that he does. But Deadlock I don't see as super viable right now. It's definitely an option, but a lot of times people want to give time to cool down on agents as far as agent selection. Yeah, it's usually a little bit of time before an agent really comes into their own. I remember when Chamber was first released, everyone was kind of a little ambivalent of him. Like, yeah, he's all right, he's good. And then like a month later, it's Chamber, until he was nerfed. So here we go. We'll find out what agents these teams fancy as we go into the first match, Wichita State versus James Madison. And we get an overview of Ascent. Like I was saying, a little bit of everything in this stage. I mean, you got really dominant Heaven on A point, and you've got that that, I mean, Ascent is really one of those stages where mid plays such a huge role.
Yeah, I mean, there was an arc of time for sure where mid was the name of the game. It was just camp on mid with the long-range ops, and just once you take it, you could leverage that into so many threatening positions. And the game, I love how you say it starts with ambivalent positions, and then people will be drawn and will gravitate towards different play styles as the game's either players or maps will age. And it's just such a living game. So we could even see some newer styles emerge from an old map like this. I mean, people find interesting plays all the time, from Jett dashing around high points, and then people will wire it off with agents that were not even viable weeks ago. So I'm ready to see what they can pull out of the bag and surprise us with.
There's always that one unknown lineup that someone is searching for in their practice solo games, and then they just shake up the whole community when it goes public. And especially, we're talking about how maps can change. We're obviously not going to see it today, but we had the change to Breeze, which I was shocked, and sometimes Riot just completely changes how a stage feels. I mean, Breeze used to be the most wide open stage, and now it's a lot of hallways.
Yeah, and it's just such breadth to the game, you know. Sometimes I just get tired of queuing Dust 2 every time, and Valorant really puts that in there, where you get on and maybe the dice have been rolled a little bit, and things, it's just so alive. The game is constantly changing. You have to be at the edge of the meta. It looks like we're going to get our roster in for today on who's going to be playing what. It's a little bit of a mirror as far as the Jett and the Sova and everybody goes. Actually, the Omen as well. A good controller choice, I think, for this map. How winding it is. His Paranoia is so usable here. And you talked about KO, or you talked about the lockdown that we're going to have available here if they choose to go with KJ, and it looks like they both did.
Yep, and also just the turret placement. You got that standard turret placement going in toward B that's just really painful to deal with. So it looks like we have Wichita State in the blue, James Madison in the red, and already Wichita State off to quite a start, picking up a double. James Madison continues to push slowly on toward B, but they've had to pay quite a lot in terms of team members. Plant goes down for the spike. Now they're going to take a little bit of sightlines. They have an alarm bot triggered. Also a few mollies thrown out by that KJ. Seeing multiple people down that hallway. Always a stressful situation. And Wichita takes that, only having to spend one player to get the win.
Well, sometimes it feels like easy come and easy go. The Shockers have their site quickly taken, but are able to defend, come rushing in and end up triple peeking the 4-man that was just recently mollied. An instant replay of a few of those here.
It's not necessarily like a James Madison. I mean, it wasn't like they made any fatal mistakes. It's just the person advantage. I mean, you're peeking out from Boathouse there, and you already see 3 people in the hallway. The best that you can hope for is to just get a 1 trade off that situation.
Yeah, that definitely snowballs, and it definitely snowballs in gun rounds that are so early as the first round, where things are a little bit higher paced and they move a little bit quicker, just because everything has to be a little bit closer, and there's less utility to be moving and hindering movement.
Now, talking about snowballs, I do believe I did see one Phantom be brought out by Wichita State. So should they be able to win this round, which with such a gun advantage, I would hope so, that might make their bonus just a bit easier. Meanwhile, James Madison, the Dukes, meanwhile, are focusing on Fish Market for their next entry. They have this Sova positioned up, and the Omen's going to smoke off. So they're going to use their Sova to get a bit of info, but the fire through the smoke from the Omen already takes out 1 player, now 2, as the Jett gets involved.
Yeah, the Wichita Shockers know the power of shooting where people could be. It's just almost nothing on the board. If you can shoot where someone could be, oh my goodness, what a shot. That's for 3, and he's looking to snowball that. Sui coming in melee with this, just standing around trying to make his way in, but he's absolutely got with the Sheriff. Things are closing in, and Hams is going to take Murr down on a little mirror battle in the garage there to give defenders their 2nd point, which we see typically, like you said, there's a lot of gun advantage coming off the first point. So this is the bonus round right here, where they're able to bonus in everything they had from the last round.
Can you just consider how much some people practice on just being good snipers? I mean, you can consider the Marshall, if it's in the right hands, it might as well be an op and for a very cheap price, especially in these early rounds when there aren't the long-range guns to counter it. Now, this is the moment of truth for James Madison. They should be able to get a full purchase of rifles. Will Wichita State be able to successfully bonus?
It's just a very strong playstyle after strong playstyle. Looks like a team here JMU is just rushing in every time, and sometimes they take that space expertly. They're just gonna have to make sure they can lock it down this time. Oh, I've already taken 2 out. That is a good catalyst to keep it moving. Another one in their pocket, and it's looking great. Just 1 left, but he was an expert last round. Truman is wiped from the board. Definitely only 1 player remains. They're looking to wrap around. Everybody's expecting it, though. That's not enough. Karuz falls. And so he's going to switch to the Sheriff, the beautiful Ion Sheriff, coming in clutch from around the corner. They might not expect it.
Oh, CCU tail thrown out, and the jump peak. Doesn't necessarily, probably doesn't have the time to defuse. Just focus on picking up any player that you can get, making sure that credit differential over the rounds evens out. And that was pretty good. I mean, for going into the bonus round, taking out 3 players from James Madison, they'll definitely be really happy about that in terms of the credits. And also the Jet, because she picked up that elimination, she is now on her knives. And talk about having a lot of credits. That Jet is all in on the op.
I love going all in on the op. You talked about the power of the Marshal in someone's hands, but the power of the op in someone's hands is so good too. Your target is just so much larger. And I was talking to a team captain of a local Valorant team recently about the power of the Marshal and people doing like all Marshal runs up through the ranks. Just having an op in someone's hands that has that power, that can 3v1 rolling from one side of the map to the other like they did in round 2 is going to be scary for sure.
Well, the Dukes are definitely starting this round out a lot more gingerly. I don't know if they have really thought that Wichita State might be holding the op, but I would say this is good play style so far. But Skeeves finds a wallbang onto Duraco. Whereas the rest, that seems like it was only a bait. Duraco was the only one over there on B, whereas the rest of the team is pushing towards A. So the moment Utel smokes are going to be thrown out just to try to keep him at bay. Oh, and then a peek out around is going to take out Ham. They do trade it back 1-1, and here comes the op.
What a long-range play. It's good to be able to see the teams rushing when they need to with the small arms, and then taking it slow and varying the play style, and holding a little bit further back when both teams are working some long distance work. Thiessen going to take 2 to clean off this defender's win for 3-1. Now, the score's not totally out of the ballpark in either direction. We've seen these early game scores teeter around the 2-3 point advantage, and we're not super worried about that falling into either hands.
But this is going to be a tricky next round for JMU, since that was their full purchase. So they're going to have to probably eco on this, maybe a thrifty here or there. We do see one of their members picking up a Vandal, so they might actually have enough credits to be able to full purchase this round. But if they keep losing, they're going to have some uncomfortable gun differentials.
Deploying drone.
That's okay. They're changing what they exactly want to hit. Instead of going straight for B, they rush by the pockets. They have some options, and they're feeling things out in mid. The feeling gets a little intense as a 1-and-1 drop from both sides and some long sight lines for a couple of shots.
I mean, I wouldn't call that just a one-on-one drop. That's the op that was dropped, and you already see James Madison is just going to take that gun and say thank you, and then move on. So that's already a great swing in their favor. They already got a bit of chip damage on Wichita State's KO. They're slowly, looks like they're going to slowly rotate over toward A and see if they can have a little bit more success pushing through Gardens, but that is held down pretty tightly by 2 players. We see the op that was stolen from Wichita State. The question is, can they hold on to it?
Yeah, this has been much more sensing of a round. Karuz making a real serious prod into market to see what he can find. There's going to be one around the corner.
30 seconds left.
Oh, he could be coming on to a very coordinated push here. He finds one, and the other one rotates with a beautiful bait and switch.
Well, the green light has been given to James Madison to go on toward B. However, they do lose 1 player, and they got to get the spike down.
1 enemy
And
remaining.
most crucially, that Killjoy being taken out. That's the one who was holding the op. So is Wichita State, are they able to pick that op off the ground, or was it tossed by the KJ beforehand? Taking a quick look at the weapon loadouts, and yes, I do see the op being passed back toward Jet. So that's the biggest prize that they were able to return in terms of credits. Doesn't look like they'll be hurting too much in terms of credits. They do have to settle for small shields on the op, but it's miles ahead of the eco round that James Madison is forced onto.
That's true. That eco round could get them a lot of money, though they're already looking okay on credits. Coming in about $1.50. JMU pushing up and keeping a spike in pocket. A good call is a lot of these first bloods have been in surprising situations. Feeling around mid areas, their lurker's going to grab the spike and begin moving up. And it's a catwalk. Into the trees. They've tried this before. Felt a little crowded, but the smoke's going to go down. They jump right across. Knives are popped. Looking into the eyes of heaven. Oh, totally anticipated. We saw the scanning. Suli doing an excellent job of just placing across there.
I was cautiously optimistic that maybe he managed to slip behind Generator without getting Wichita State's attention, but obviously that was not the case. Truman also picking up a double, make that a triple. That's going to charge up his ultimate, excuse me. KJ Killjoy is going to be online as well for Wichita State. So with so many ultimates charged, they're going to decide to give it over to the Sova, who now also has his Hunter's Fury available.
A threatening position to be in, especially when so far up. We do know that JMU now has the credits to come back. And it looks like they're going to use it strategically. A little bit of a timeout coming in from Draco. With this timeout active, I imagine they're just looking for a way to kind of slow the momentum. It's good to do that preventatively. We've seen a lot of teams way under the water and pull it out. Even in professional matches, it's sometimes scary how long they'll hold on to this basically free utility that every team is.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, your timeout is just basically, you can think of it as another ability for your team to use, and it can be very crucial for you to, clear your heads, maybe talk with the coach a little bit, who can have an outsider's perspective of what are the main mistakes being made. So we'll see, very crucially, I wouldn't probably say it's the next stage that we'll see, the next round that we'll see the full impact of this timeout. I think it's going to be the next 3 rounds. If we go 3 rounds and we still don't see any wins from James Madison, I'm going to think, okay, the reset didn't necessarily work. So over the next couple of rounds, we'll see how the Dukes can recover.
Yeah, and hopefully they have an interesting strategy to recover. I love to see the flexibility in play styles and kind of see the IGL shift around and make up their mind on the fly. And this is just a great catalyst to get those abilities back on deck to kind of recenter all of the players. We're going to see what they are looking to change here now that they have the creds to go all out. And all out do they go, as a few players are coming in at less than 100 credits. This is a serious push. This is a real big buy from JMU. Are they going to come in strong? They're chomping the edge of their seats here. Throwing utility down. Just coming in rolling. They catch one on knives. Hams is going to down one. That's not fantastic. Murr being defensive about his push. Going to rotate around the other side. Oh, and through the wall. Suli takes another beautiful op shot, and what a cheeky place to put that off. That's such a medium distance. The op does fantastic, but you would expect a typical SMG or maybe just, good gun to be back there. Ham taking out Rocco. And what a slide. I mean, I know JMU took a little bit of a gamble there on coming in strong, and a big push from 5 players basically locks in your numbers ratio because you have all 5 players immediately present. The problem is the rotation speeds of the other team were good enough that they had to into support right at the end.
Zuli is doing such a good job of tracking on this op that any sort of dry peek or peek that does not have cover is simply not an option for James Madison right now. They basically have to go around every single corner thinking that Suli is holding that off, because every time that Suli has had an eyeball on a player, it's been an instant elimination.
And sometimes just the threat of the op, if they can carry it over to the next round, you have to be wary of it, and you have to be wary about these angles. And we can see it right here in B site. Suli's holding it alone with the op down a long angle, and they're able to pack everyone on A. And JMU has very low options. They can either fight that the same way they did last round or push into a field of the Shockers.
Well, we do have a full engagement going in, and the swarm grenade is what's going to take out their Omen, followed by Murr biting the dust. And JMU, it just seems like they can't get a plant without losing 2 or 3 of their team members. I have yet to see a post-plant scenario where there's 4 or more players.
Yeah, we don't even see a post-plant scenario defusing super often. A lot of these have been eliminations or defuses immediately after. Getting that post-plant lockdown has been a real problem that GMU are looking to overcome right now. They've got a lot of ultimates on board now. Hopefully they'll be able to use some of those and leverage in the next round. So going into buy phase, so they got to be wary of WSU's ultimates as well. They're on board, and looks like people have been kind of conservative with these.
Well, at this stage of the game, when you're forcing James Madison to so many losses in a row, you're basically almost trading a 2-for-1 in terms of wins, because we've seen consistently Wichita State is not allowing any thrifties to go too. So every win they get, you kind of got to factor in, okay, the next round, 99.9% of the time is probably going to go to Wichita as well. Especially with the op peak by Sully is just not going to let up on his reign of terror. For another one. Oh, right around the corner, just barely through the smoke. Is going near melee with this op. He's going to switch to the shorty as he gets serious. Goes for a bait and switch, but he doesn't even need it. Truman is able to hold his own in garden here. And Tree's been a difficult place for JMU to make their way into. James Madison have tried a couple of different positions, and right now they've got to take the long way home. And it could be a save. It could be a defensive hold, but no, it looks like Duraco's ready to put it all on the line. Just one left for James Madison. Can they at least make this, you know, at least a 1 trade? I mean, at this point, you just got to play for credits. Doesn't even look as Skeeves is able to find the flank. And that's going to bring Wichita State up to 8-1. Currently at 9 rounds so far, so there's 3 left to go in the entire round.
Scary position to be in, and it looks like JMU's pause has only altered a few things, and hopefully they're able to get back on the front foot about this. Looks like they're considering a serious B hit here with a spike in pocket, but not totally on the ground. Oh, there it is. Gonna leave it down and go for a 1-2-2. While only 1 person left on the catwalk to defend against that push into mid from the B side. It's Truman, who's been a steel trap of a situation on Tree here.
So we also doing a good job of just swapping up the positions that he's placed the op. Sometimes he's on A, sometimes he's on B, and there are 2 right now from James Madison. Trying to keep A open as an option. They're also just very tenacious about B, because even though the op isn't covering, you got all this KJ util, and they're going to get their location found out by the dart. Killjoy is going to be thrown down by James Madison, so they're going to try to either clear out B or just use it as a fake, and I think it is the latter option as we see a rotation over towards A.
Yeah, baiting that utility out is good because they can rotate back again if they want. But Suey, an animal, takes 2 of them, is pushed out by the utility, but there's no one to capitalize on it. So Suey's going to make their way back to a little bit. Oh no, they don't take the defensive position. They hold out the flash standing on top of generator. What an aggressive move. What a call. They totally called. Oh. And looking again, way through the smoke here, just holding a very close angle. They're feeling hot with this one. A flick for it, doesn't find it. Darby is able to sidestep it and take him down with a close range Guardian.
We do have Cams just holding down. I thought he was going to get caught in reload, but Truman is there to bail him out. Throws the blind through the choke. They managed to get rid of every single person. And more importantly, not only winning the round, but getting back that op for Suey, which is already used to great effect. He's up to 14-5-4 in the KDA.
Yeah, and the security on the credits are so strong. It'll be tough for JMU to really push the boulder up this hill here. It would take 2 or 3 consecutive wins to level things out cred-wise.
And you think if Wichita State manages to win these next 2 rounds before half comes, the second half could not even go beyond pistol rounds. And so we saw Wichita State very comfortable on those pistol rounds. Won them pretty handily, and we see already JMU's not going to waste any time at all charging onto A. They're going to get the plant down as soon as they can, and they managed to get Wichita State with no one watching over A. So they will have a post plant to defend with, and a Killjoy immediately sprung on them.
Yeah, that Killjoy.
Oh!
Wow, can take out Caruth. The op control on green team here. The Shockers are just comfortable with it. And Skeebs and Teeson are going to take 2 more down, followed by Skeebs a second one. It's going to be an easy defuse. Amidst the defensive Killjoy push, only 1 player left. Can he play through the smokes in time? Not quite. And he's taken down at the front gates, Darby.
Wichita State had such a huge lead that they just purchased multiple ops. Saw all the fun Sui was having, and so Truman said, hey, I want in on the action, and even though he's an Omen, still managed to win the battle.
It's very true. I would get greedy if someone was taking all the wins with an op. Looks like JMU is going to be looking for another B-style push. We'll see if they can work it into mid again and take some wins.
Last chance for any sort of comeback to be mounted in the first half. Hunter's Fury used right away and automatically picks up Murr, and then the knives to, I was gonna say stick a knife in the wound, but that isn't gonna be the case. That's a good trade by Darby. And JMU could actually be mounting a comeback just when they need it. Unfortunately, even if they do get the win here, that 1 credit bonus that they do get, they're not going to be able to take into the next half, but you take a win when you can get it. Truman finds it! I was thinking, the positioning that they had, there wasn't someone swinging out wide on that double peek, and I'm thinking, oh man, there could be a collateral here.
That's just, that's 2 times that we've seen in that round the Shadow Step utility used by the Omen to make a life-saving change. I mean, when the Hunter's Fury was literally hunting down players, the only reason the Omen was able to make it out was Shadow Stepping straight forward across the Hunter's Fury. And that time to get up on top of a box and take an off angle, forcing the opponents to take one-on-ones as the smoke goes down, just shows so much patience and understanding of the utility and the different, the flexibility and how it can be used. Really tough. I was hoping they would find a coordinated push, because if JMU had a 2-on-1, there's a good chance they may have taken that battle, but they just didn't know where he was. So they wanted the smoke to go down and maintain some visibility, but it worked against them. What a tricky play.
Even though Wichita State has a huge lead, they're not just all going to go charging in on this pistol round. Still making sure that they can get the advantage. They're really focusing around Garden right now. They're throwing out a few smokes onto A. The push is coming through. And throwing the blind around the corner, dislodging that Omen through, but that KJ was just lying in wait, picks up a double.
A beautiful hold on the Ghost is totally turning the tides here, and that's something you have to be careful about. We talked about JMU being very strong. There are the possibilities of them being really strong on the other hand. I mean, switching between offense and defense could change a lot of things. And in this case, we don't see that change in team comp because we have a mirror comp, but JMU easily could snowball this and make that 1 win into several the same way we saw the WSU do.
They will have the gun advantage for this round, but I do see Sui heading right on back to that Marshall, which in the first half was a real big pain. The only problem is he has to use it on attack now, so he doesn't have the luxury of waiting for people to come to him. He's going to take a line out over mid. Still keeping their options open on whether they want to go toward A or B. It's pretty even in terms of how divided up the resources are between mid and Garden. A few peaks in engagement. Not really too much damage being placed on a WSU besides the Jet. She's down to half health. He's traded back with the Omen down being at health, and Wichita State really just focusing on their ability to click heads on this point with the Marshal and all the Sheriffs. And doesn't see the angle toward Boathouse. Ham just waiting on B point. What? Takes WSU down to 3.
What a turnaround here. JMU holding one of their players in such low health, but their counterpart is the lead duelist. But Wichita State is so low health too. Sui has to be sure on this. Or shoot or hit. Oh, there it is. From distance with the stinger, Kuroko is able to take it down, and it is 11-3.
Now we do get to the full purchase round though. JMU, I don't know if they necessarily have the luxury to bonus at this point. I mean, you got to think they can only lose 2 rounds, so they're gonna mainly bonus. They have 1 Phantom and 1 Vandal. At this point, with the gun advantage of WSU, all they need is this 1 round to force the game point, and then JMU would be in a position where they'd have to win 9 in a row. Peek out through the one-way smoke. Karus is just waiting with open arms for Cams. Picks him up. Wichita State still sticking on the same route. No huge rotation to speak of yet.
Cruz totally respecting the space that the Shockers were demanding. It's good positional play to use that get out of jail free card, even though you've made a couple of shots onto the one-way, just because you realize there's so many legs coming around the corner. And now they're going to hold the site alone just in case there's any kind of a re-hit. Oh, and they wanted to move through mid to take it, but Ham does so well to defend. They know trees are rock solid. They just wanted to take it after they were already threatening about space and position on the A side.
Well, we have quite a match here. JMU winning that bonus round. Huge credit differential now playing out before us. Wichita State is going to be forced back onto the pistols and that 1 Marshall. And I really think they're a team that thrived when they could just count on James Madison to walk towards them, but they're having a really tough time peeking out at these angles, not necessarily knowing what angles JMU is holding down.
Oh, it's a long sideline hold with Ruth. Has to deal with a little bit of utility here, and there's even more just being dumped into mid. This is the Ascent that we know and love. Everybody's scrambling for the same thing, and through the wall, he looks to take one, but it's not quite there. Still, a 5v5 heat sensor go out. A lot of information is here, and look at that from the distance. Sui takes on Karus. Wow. And that's going to be a space trade. I mean, now the grass is green.
Not only that, but Sui gets to upgrade from his Marshall to an op. He had to be pixel perfect in that face-off. Rose to the challenge, but the rest of James Madison, they're going to take out Cams, force this to a 4-on-3. Sui has his precious op, but the question is, he just waits and gets baited out with the jump peek. He's going to have to rotate now. JMU doing a good job of forcing Wichita State to be on their toes. This Omen, I don't know if they see him. Sui bailing out his team. This Killjoy with a triple brings the advantage back to JMU. They get toward the point, don't have too much time to plant, have to set up in Boathouse and get a perfect pick. Misses, and I think that miss is going to be extremely crucial as Durako takes the space. Murr gets rid of Sui.
Sui was so threatening there, and used their Marshall to bonus it up. Really worked for that upgrade, and then I was just too close to the quarters, going right for the pits of B, that mud, this big square. It's easier to defend with the op, but trying to attack onto it is an awkward position, and when he was the last one alive, there's only so much you can do in a 3v1 scenario, where every time you try to shoot, everything's put into 3 times zoom, so it's full shields again, and a whole lot of big, expensive guns coming out, as this round is a decider. JMU would love to just keep the waves going.
Look at how close Karus is positioning up on B2. I worry for Skeeves if he just peeks right through there. He's going to get a bullet to the face. How much is he going to respect the offing ability of JMU? Don't have the camera on. They still are trying to feel out that peak. Meanwhile, the rest of Wichita State is focusing up toward mid. Maybe they can divert attention away from B.
Ooh, the hold on B is deep as well, and the hold on mid, all the same. They had so much utility in there that ends up getting pulled back. They're respecting the space that Wichita is trying to take here. Wichita State moving up and into the smoke. It's Hams at the forefront, looking for something, but Silva's looking all the same. He takes it out with the knife so good. just absolutely refusing that information. Thiessen is going to find Darby.
That's a very crucial pick. It brings the Hunter's Fury online for him. Question is, they got to dislodge this Jet with the op. One shot, one kill. Thiessen bites the dust. And the rest of the team just goes scrambling for B, trying to get the spike down. Steves is going to be next on the list for JMU.
Truman just got down the stairs. And in the same angle, Cams is looking to defend himself right outside the defensive Killjoy, but they've got him cornered. He can still defend himself, but it'll be difficult when they know where he's at. Just trying to watch the door. A shadow step makes it even harder. It's going to be a closer angle than he expects, but maybe I was wrong. The footsteps are all it takes, and he finds one right to the jaw, coming around the side. Just playing Ring Around the Rosie with a couple of pixels, a flash. And he takes another one. It's down to a 1v1, and the wrong call finds Myrrh on top of Cams. In a little KO on KO battle, he's going to switch to Skin. And a low health Myrrh is going to close up point 6 for James Madison in the purple and gold. It looks like people are just more comfortable on the defense between these two teams. And I mean, we'll see what Thiessen has to say during the timeout from the attacking side. Wichita State University is feeling the same kind of pressure that they were applying just half a game earlier. This snowballing effect is coming into a wave as 5 points in a row have been made, and you don't want to get it up into the double digits on either side, or their playstyle has to change.
But I did see a potential weakness from James Madison University in the fact that they had a 3-on-1, and yet it was one after another, a 1-on-1, 1-on-1, and that's how you whittle away those big leads. So if Wichita State can recognize that, you know, first off, try to focus so they're not, try to make it so they're not the one who's consistently getting picked first off, because these rounds are just starting out in 4-on-5s with them. But if they recognize that James Madison University isn't taking probably as many double peaks as they should, remember, it's such a thin margin of error that James Madison has to walk here. It's just 2 strikes and they're out in this case.
It's true, and they're really fighting uphill, but they're doing well with it. And the switch up, I can't ignore it. The change at the half between the two, I would love to see how this plays out on map 2. And it might be nice for the other team to see, oh, well, if we're both just really attack-sided, then maybe we can hold a little bit more comfortably. Sorry, defensive. Hold a little bit more comfortably when we're on the attack, knowing that it'll be our turn soon. I mean, it's just good for morale. She just turn around and look at this big push. Sui.
This is huge.
A coordinated attack. I mean, there was nobody there. They had a couple turrets in the background, but those lifeless turrets are being pulled back into the hands to be reused later, and the smokes are already off. Truman has done the last little bit of scouting around. Moving into the next era of the round already. The plan is down. The Owl drone is out. It sees one and goes for the darts. They try to wall bang him. It's not going to be there. Truman now still defending against the push. Push comes in strong. Steve's coming in for a serious flank. And Sui takes 2 down with the knives. Cams is going to find one. And what a shutdown. I mean, they didn't even get the flank in. And they're going to get an op out of it.
We know that a player like Sui is just insanely deadly on holding angles in a defensive position, and the only way to really guarantee that if you're on attack is to be able to take a wide open point and set up your post plant early. So the fact that Sui went in, that they just basically had no one situated on B, it was the one opening that Wichita State had to play to their strengths, and they sure delivered on it.
Now, Sui plays like they have all the Steam achievements in Kovacs.
Yes, that one person who's showing off that achievement bling.
Yes. Ooh, good response to the dart there. It's not going to take them a lot of information, as we know. State loves to come in fast. And look at that, Sui and Thiessen both taking their one Cams to get his name on the board.
Plan's going to go down, but this is a huge person advantage for for Wichita State against James Madison. Oh, tries to spot him throughout the smoke and takes him out of his ultimate. Wichita State looked a little hairy for them, but they were able to pull out the victory 13-6. So that'll be 1 tally in their column. Now we'll move on to Lotus to decide the next stage, which is a bit different. I'm curious to see how these teams will adapt to the change in scenery that Lotus brings, because Lotus has so many more enclosed area and close quarters combat. when you're that dedicated to a player like Sui, who is so good on this long-range op gameplay, how well is he going to adapt to those tight, enclosed spaces?
Exactly. I mean, that's the question, isn't it? But we've seen that the mechanical skill of having that pixel perfection is not going to hurt you anyway. I mean, they're going to have nice early rounds with the Ghost and with the Sheriff. And if they decide to hold that together and they won't, they won't soil themselves, sully themselves with any judges or any short-range business like that, then they could stay good at a medium range. Even though the connectivity, of Lotus, I would say, is a lot higher than Ascent, which is saying a lot. But a pre-Lotus era Ascent was one of the more connected maps. So that mobility is definitely going to be a fun thing to see. And it's not that we can't respect the other team as well. We've seen both the Shockers and the Dukes hold, in terms of momentum, quite a bit of ground. So maybe the momentum will be totally switched in this next one, and we could see the Shockers on the back foot.
Yeah, we saw the Dukes put up a very respectable comeback run, getting all the way up to 6. I was starting to question myself whether we actually would go toward overtime. But we had such a long winning streak with the Shockers that we need to remember also the times that we did see them on the pistol round, at least when they were on defense. That's the key thing. They showed that when they're on defense in the pistol rounds, they were pretty competent at using them. So that gives me maybe a little bit of hope for them in the short range, but I think overall it's going to be a question of who's on attack and who's on defense, because it seems very lopsided for both these two teams. They prefer being on defense.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, but maybe each of them have, touched gloves a little bit and tasted the distance of the other side's defensive play style, and maybe they could get a little bit more leverage out of the attack. And you've talked about the map change too. If this is an intrinsically defense-sided map, that could make their liking one defense over the attack a little bit less dramatic on Lotus.
Yeah, because I was thinking, if you're a team that's really going to be defensively focused, that's really going to be put to the test when all the stages from here on out are going to be 3-point stages with so many different routes that you can take, especially not to speak about Lotus, all the sneaky shenanigans you can do with the secret passages, all the doors swinging wide open. It really isn't the same scenario as Ascent, where you can just kind of predict, okay, I think generally there's going to be someone showing up in mid, I can put my op there. It's really going to force these teams to think more on their feet and test their ability to rotate quickly as the attack changes their target.
Yeah, that is an excellent point, that these new maps are going to thin out the defense a little bit, which is exactly what we as casters in the audience would love to see from these teams, now that we know that the defensive card is their big trump card.
Well, we can actually take an overview look at Lotus here and all of the points that these teams will have to take. We've got just the graphic up beside us, and now you can see it in front of you. But first, just to reset, this is the Shockers versus the Dukes. Wichita State versus James Madison. Wichita State leads by 1. We're ready to head into the second game of this best of 3 to see if it will be a 2-0 sweep by the Shockers.
I do love those clever insignias and emblems, the symbol of Duke Dog himself with the controller on his face.
Yeah, that's great.
That's always fun to see these colleges and universities putting legitimate effort into beautifying the esports community.
I personally love it when universities take an esports logo and kind of swap it over to match their own mascot or something. So, they either put their colors on the Valorant logo, or I remember for Smash, there was a Texas university that took their star, the Texas star, but put the Smash lines on it, so it wasn't a circle, it was a star, so you could still see it with Smash, but it's Texas.
That's good. That's good. Really putting those Adobe Photoshop credits to use.
Yep. Well earned. Well, we can take a look at the lineups that we have before us. We do see one chamber being brought out. In fact, quite a difference between the first round. No mirror to speak of.
Yeah, no. And another mirror that we're not going to see is the fade on that chamber side. The Rays, however, and the Omen are going to be something we're very familiar with, and we're going to see that Rays play probably a little bit differently than the Jet was playing. We also have that big lockdown presence going to be there from the Shockers of Wichita State.
We'll see how well JMU has adjusted to the new agent. Right now, they're going to be put on attack. Start their charge up towards A. Going to utilize the swinging door, but that audio cue is going to come through for Wichita State.
And they're moving a little bit slower this time. We still have that chamber position. Oh, there it is, Thiessen coming out with 2 of them. Ham's going to reply. Skeeves finds 1. Darby to start wrapping that gift box. As the Shockers have 1.5 players left. Thiessen going to play a little defensively and look for that information coming out. And ooh, a beautiful shot around the corner to find Thiessen. That 3K really working overtime through the smokes here. And that's to close it off Cams with a ghost to find 1 more. Wichita State representing the heart of the Midwest round 1 to put on top of their week 2 first map win. It's looking pretty good for them, but they know they have to respect the pressure that James Madison applies. As the Dukes are readying up, Eco on guns. Really shooting for that 3rd round, but to make as much damage as they can this round. Hopefully being wary of any Marshals or Guardians they know that the Shockers would love to be playing from a distance here.
Where are you?
And Sight Division's already going to come out. We've got a wall on A. And a slower playstyle coming out of it. We definitely see James Madison comfortable having a lurker or 2 on this map as their Sentinel and Controller are going to hang out a bit more than they did in the last map. Respecting the smokes.
Takes a jump peek out, trying to bait out a few shots from Sui. Duroko does manage to get the pick onto the Cams. Wichita State has a disadvantage, but they managed to get a double thanks to Sui. 2 headshots. Oh, you pick up the spike, but everything has been evened up thanks to Sui. And it doesn't even need the blind around the corner as Skeeves with the Guardian gets a victory for Wichita State.
Oh, those narrow shots from the Guardian. They're just a menacing sound.
Oh. So we were wondering if they would be a little bit more spread out in defense, leave a few more holes for James Madison to get through, but so far, been pretty much the same story that we saw last game. Of course, the real test will be the bonus.
I love the variability coming out in WSU's buy lineup this round. A couple of SMGs at close range, prioritizing utility for those players, and those other players like Peruse leaving the wall down immediately and playing with the Phantom from a distance, just playing through. No punishment, to just add a little pepper damage Sui to find one and immediately go down. Beautiful bait and switches here. Understanding to play off the contact. I mean, this is high-level play. Look at the play down mid. It's a little of a close.
Toxin screen down.
Wichita State got people on both sides.
Planted.
Madison having their team whittled down little by little thanks to Thiessen and Skeeves. Oh, just 2 left to defend this on post plan. Thiessen's going to get a bit more information with the dog. Gets to be able to spot Ham around corner, get that little bit of chip damage that the dog has. And that's going to help with them take the victory in Wichita State, pretty effortlessly winning their bonus.
They're on the defensive side, though. Again, we see a big defensive snowball accumulating for Wichita's side, and we know that James Madison does well on the defensive side themselves, but they've got to find a couple of points here and there to easen up that second half of the game.
At this point, it's going to be decided on margins, I think.
We've got a timeout coming in from Thiessen, looking to maybe slow down that momentum.
Yeah, that is a bit interesting that that Wichita State was the one that called that timeout too. Because if it was James Madison, I would have said, okay, I can. But yeah, you're the team, you have a win streak already. So maybe there's something, maybe the coach saw something in the past few rounds, maybe a tinge of gameplay that he didn't like, and he might be thinking, before they get too focused on, they get too carried away by the win streak. I don't want to see that play. I don't know. I'm just, speculating here. Yeah. But it is interesting because very rarely have I seen a team that's on a win streak call a timeout.
It could be that they think they have a special condition here to use something exciting. A lot of times if the coach says, hey, wait, here's the X's and O's. I know this doesn't happen often, but look at the loadout that you guys have. Look at the creds that they're in. You could really pack this snowball tight. So I'd love to see how they change their gameplay here after this little break.
Well, as I said before the timeout happened, this is going to be a game that's decided on margins. I think because we're seeing Wichita State so comfortable in the defensive position, they're probably going to be leading this before the half is ending. The question is, will it be the 11-1 that we saw beforehand? Because if James Madison even manages to get a 9-3 and 8-4, they've shown that they're adept enough at defense that if Wichita State does not meet the pace they had last game, it could be a very different ending.
Oh, and it looks like they're all coming in at once, throwing the utility backside to try to push Skeebs up, but he's not threatened. The fight or flight says stand there and look him in the eyes. They're not able to play through the snake bite, but as it goes away, they're just got to worry about the smoke. Still at a 3-0. We're looking for Wichita State to pull something strange out of the bag, but JMU got to deal.
It's just the shuffling on top of the mound.
Staying sturdy on the sand. A little pepper damage is not enough. Skeebs capitalizes on that look to find one, and a stray bullet on the second one. Shoots a little over, but finds a third and a fourth. The correction is unreal. He almost finds the ace. He was just so close, but Caruso, to be the ace shutdown, is going to flip it around and finds a second one. Close range, but sidearm. And Sui, again, is going to be the one to fold in the envelope.
Was on such a roll, but just tripped over his shoelace at the very end. But still, I mean, I'm not going to be complaining if I'm on his team. You know, picking up a 4-piece is still amazing.
Oh, it's just so close to taking the 5.
And this is kind of the dream scenario for Wichita State. When they just wait for James Madison to come to them, and they've narrowed down what corridor James Madison is going through, they just pop off.
Yeah, narrowing down the corridors too. I mean, all the information must have been there, and we saw a lot of utility coming out that probably, it goes the other way. When you see someone dump utility direction, they get a little bit of information about where you're standing, but you got to see them throw it. And it was crazy watching him take 2 on the right, 1 on the left, and return. Like, he was totally predicting their movements. Very close to the ace there. And we're seeing ultimates start to roll in as we're approaching round 5. Got a lockdown on board, and Tams taking out Duraco as all 5 of the James Madison players holding in the back sight. They're going to start pushing up against the wall here on A site from a distance. Caruso is going to find one.
They get their 1 pick, and they're going to be content with that and rotate over towards C. We could see a similar situation playing out to last round because this KJ is positioned at the same point they were at last time. They're going to get smoked off, making their job a whole lot harder. And I like this. I like this charge that we're seeing in. As long as they don't fall victim to the swarm grenade, it is going to go off, but they're still going to have time to plant this.
But getting the plant down has never been the issue, has it? They've got to hold this space. And Caruso, wow, only barely did he avoid the snake bite, but he was not able to avoid Truman coming from behind.
That killjoy now placed down, forcing James Madison off of the point. A firefight between Murrah and the others. Manages to pick up 2. It's going to be a mad dash back toward the spike. Once his killjoy wears off, he's just going to try to stick it out through. Truman holding down the ground for him, picking up a quad. And Wichita State not slowing down in any sense of the word.
Truman acting as Cam's personal defender, him rushing out to the bunker and just drilled straight through the sand. Finding 2 to close it up. Never take a fair fight, I suppose. But Operation Save the President is going to find another point, bringing us to 5-0 on the scoreboard.
Great spray transfer by Murrah, even though he was in the same spot. Adjusted his aim quick enough that he was able to pick up that double. But it just wasn't going to be enough for James Madison. He almost got the round for them. All right, now we go into the next round. You were talking about not taking a fair fight. There are so many ultimates now available for James Madison. They have to wonder if they decide to use one of them. Once again, they're starting out with the same pattern. They're kind of feeling out A, then slowly rotating back over towards C. Only problem is there's so much util pushed down on that choke point from the KJ. But they're going to very quickly, Wichita State, be very quickly able to change their focus. Might be changing things up here. Sui just has that hairline of a sight on A. Viper wall goes back up.
It's not many times we've seen a legitimate hit onto A site. I mean, they love running in and taking a grab and then leaving. Ooh, on barely time. Refresh of the gun is not going to be enough time.
Almost gets found out on the snake bite. Now moving in toward the point. They're going to have to face two. He lines up his blinding, but it looks like Wichita State, they're going to be trading back and forth with the blind. Skeeves and Thiessen managing to find a double apiece. Wichita State now moves up to 6-0.
And it's so tough because you can feel James Madison is changing their play style a little bit. They're holding back a little bit more. And we've seen them play a little bit more defensive that time. I mean, they considered A, they didn't like it. They actually had their Sentinel teleport up and taxiing them back down. They pressed on another site. They rotated around for A. Whenever they got pressure, they backed up. They stayed in pairs. It feels like they're playing by the book here, and they're trying to get a small foothold, but it's just not enough when Thiessen can come flying around the corner and take two out at once.
It wasn't just him just flying around the corner, but it was him. He still managed to get his hawk to land. And because the blinding from the Omen hit first, that means they just had a split second where Wichita State had sight and James Madison didn't, and that was enough for them to take the round.
Cam's and the Oni Phantom is going to be dumping utility onto this area, absolutely blinding everyone. And look at that, Thiessen to take two, and all it cost him was Sui.
Oh!
Wow! Murr to find two before being shot out of the air. No, he's still up and running, and he's taxiing the spike back to the A site. And the rotate isn't even there as Skeeves goes down to Caruso. That's .1 for James Madison.
It took a clutch showstopper, but it was the right play at the right time for James Madison.
And if that's the power that an ultimate has, having the other four on deck is menacing.
The only problem is that the showstopper is just one of those ultimates that can, you know, if it's aimed right, get a lot of picks immediately. I mean, you can't necessarily compare the Omen ultimate to a showstopper.
No.
So it's not like each ultimate that they have is going to have the same utility, but they're still very powerful effects. So
You want to play?
James Madison
Let's
might be
play.
starting back a comeback. And talk about the other ultimate that has a lot of offensive capability. They're bringing out the Tour de Force. Bit of a trade back and forth, but Sui picks up a triple before the Tour de Force can even be a factor. A quad for Sui. And I think we could be seeing another showstopper, this time for Wichita State, very fast, because that's 4 whole ult charges going over to the Shockers.
That is wild. How quickly all of those came together. Cam's with a small trade, and then Sui, just one after another, feeling hot. Gets the pressure from behind and flips on them. A great 180 right to the skull. He's not worried. He's not threatened.
We saw on that replay, Sui was 1-8 before the play started on his ult charge. Those 4 makes him 5-8 now. He's basically almost completely reset it. And he could pick up even more on this peek through A. He gets Rocco. And Wichita State wanting to recharge this showstopper as soon as they can. Gonna try to take out Darpy next. We'll see if that rotation around is successful. Meanwhile, on B, James Madison pushing through is gonna try to deny some sight to the Shockers with this Viper's Pit, but is it really enough? Because Sui picks up another elimination. Thiessen gets a double. And that Viper's Pit is all for naught. The Shockers up to 8-1.
I mean, the defenders from Wichita, Kansas here are really punishing the consistency that we're finding from James Madison. James Madison, again, is about to send a wall down A and maybe feel around there. And Wichita is waiting right at the gates for them to do it again. And there it is. The wall goes down. They're feeling it out. They've got a lot of people on C, and it's this consistency that is allowing Wichita State to take free peaks and free kills. But it looks like this time they've learned. They're dropping the wall, and they're trying to bait some players over, and now they're moving around. So much information is going to go out. They break the wall, but there's nothing there. The whole push is where they stacked only 2 players, so the rotate's out.
Oh, no.
You has to make it around, but a knife bot, it might not be enough. Skeeves is under serious pressure. It's going to move to the knife for good luck. It's got the Odin from above. As soon as that smoke drops, it could be scary. Here's a comedic.
There's no fake out at this time because they just went on to the point. Unfortunately, it's when Skeeves decided to buy an Omen, picks up one Thiessen and Truman, and Sui also getting in on the action. We actually could see a team ace. It isn't going to come through, but hey, it's a win is a win. Whether it's a team ace or not in Wichita State, now going up to 9-1. I was saying, will they meet the same 11-1 threshold that they did in game 1? That was crucial to them picking up the win. I'd say they're well on their way to that.
And I mean, that was a good adjustment by James Madison. They did the right thing. They baited the consistency and they got everybody to stack A. The problem was that the one of the two people that were kind of solo, casual guarding C were holding onto a lawnmower, and it didn't go very well. Hopefully this time, they'll either fake it out a little bit more smoothly or hold strong as that aggressive push keeps coming in from Wichita State on the A fence.
I like the choice of Skeeves bringing out the Omen for side C. That's been where James Madison has basically been gravitating to for most of the match.
To vary the consistency up, they're going to push through mid a little bit towards B, but leave people on the defense in both places.
They spend the Viper's Pit right off the bat just to close off C entirely. Going to force James Madison onto one of the lesser traveled points for them, where Sui is just waiting. He's been in this position before. He plows through all the util, not getting blinded at all, just waiting for the one peek and catches his prey. Look at that flick by Sui. He gets a quad. Does he have an ace in his repertoire? It's possible. We're seeing a slow rotation back over towards C. And he's not looking in Sui's direction. Sui is gradually checking his angles. He's looking toward B. This could be the one chance where he goes down or he picks up the ace. He does it! It slips through his fingers at the last moment.
Draco to find it on near luck around B pillars as he falls, going the wrong way now. Standing on top of the spike, he's able to get it. Can he make this round? A quick TP out to check his corners. He's going to pull that back in. Skeeves. Oh! It's too much of a warm-up to get that gun going, and once you know they're there, it's not enough because they know you're there. Duraco's going to find a second one. Oh, switches to the knife at the wrong time.
Wow.
And goes sprinting through contested territory when it's a 1v3 with the knife out. That's a tough way to go.
Look at this replay. Look how clean this is.
I mean, he just deals with every single utility that comes down. Sidesteps one, shoots down the other. It's going to be another dog shot as he sidesteps the nades.
And then the wall drops. He has only a split second to respond. It's instant. Every single tap there was perfect. Three headshots in a row.
This spray transfer was beautiful. Like you said, just taps.
Well, just one more round for Wichita State in the defense. Cam's just holding on to this blinding. Gonna be happy with just a smoke for now.
Oh, using the blind to move out. It's a little bit of a self-flash, but it's okay.
There is that chamber on the other side of that doorway, but he's the only one. He activates the door. I don't know, he's hanging out in that corner.
Oh, the ultimate. Sometimes those are win or lose, but it's just to provide some backup. Truman going to be in the position to help his Cam find some few Skeeves coming around the corner to get one more. The second trigger man.
Now we do know though that Duraco is pretty good at the one-on-one, so yeah, if Wichita State doesn't respect him as a player and doesn't take these double peaks, then they can see this round still go away. Oh, but it comes down to the one-on-one in the very end. I mean, yes, you got the win, but that was so hairy. I was just saying, he's good enough in those one-on-ones that he almost pulled out an ace for himself. Yeah, it was a reverse sweep.
It was a real quick and dirty situation, though, as we saw him totally miss. Maybe it was Mouse was in midair and just didn't take the fire. Then amongst the flash, he was looking for some greedy picks in the darkness. I wasn't sure if his opponent was flashed and had to sidestep to the corner. Coming back around, made it only on body shots. It got a little bit risky there, but he was able to secure it, and now they're looking. JMU's looking down the barrel of an 11-1 just like last time. And as we get the long buy round after the switch, it's going to be Ghosts again.
They're basically going to be forced to they're going to be forced, just like they did in the first round, to win their bonus and keep the win train going. They managed to push it all the way out to 6 in terms of their score last time. But again, it's just such a narrow margin of error, and with a pick by Sui to start things off, things are looking good for the Shockers. They're already making their way toward A point. There is 2 holding it down. Murr and Thiessen. Rocco gets the pick onto Sui. That's your main playmaker, your main duelist gone, and you've evened up the round.
Important to take out the IGL early like that. Hopefully that's the catalyst that they're looking for. JMU now a little bit scattered here, looking to reconsolidate as one of their players is stuck in the smoke and the other one. A big rotation behind, but they've got to make it over there soon and together as Teeson's already getting the plant in. One player's looking to set things up. The angles are there as they're coming around the corner. Truman threatening.
Oh, does Truman even know he's there? Oh! That would have been the perfect pick, but he gets caught in his ability animation.
Last player standing.
And Thiessen and Truman just bring out the elimination train.
He's gonna get this hit down for one. Tries to play through the boxes and they step around. It's such a tough position. Truman, done well.
Match
Backing up
point.
3 different times, finds one.
Wichita State's got to be thanking their lucky stars that just at that moment was when that chamber decided to bring his ability out. Because he had it right there. That would have been a perfect pick to dislodge Thiessen. But then this creates such an awkward position because now Thiessen can take the angle on Mur, who blast packed in.
Oh. And look at that, just dancing around. Giving the perfect haircut to a crouched player is always a scary situation. You don't want to be staring down the barrel too long. If you try to run, you just get slowed. He found his way out. So much utility right there down A. I mean, 3 different vision denials. Makes it so hard to peek there, and JMU's going to take this space.
So he blast packs in. Oh! The chamber is right there with the head tap.
Ham to find 2 before going down. It's a trade worth its value for him. Truman to be the one to take that trade. Draco now low on the health. Defenders coming in together find a little bit of a trade there. There's only one left. No, and he had the gun out first, but it's not quite strong enough. The Guardian's going to change hands. Moving into the next round. 12 against 2. JMU have no mistakes left to make. They've got to be clean from here on out.
I mean, normally you don't purchase after the first pistol round, but in this scenario, they have no other choice. They realized they had to meet Wichita State in terms of gun power. They did an amazing job. It was really with the Frenzy, I believe, or the Stinger, excuse me, I believe, that they were able to pick up that double. Wichita State still has a long way. Still has a lot of mistakes that they can make. I mean, they got 10 extra chances at this point.
And they're coming in strong. WSU looking to make a big show of the final round here, but it's not enough. The defensive side mows down 3 of them. In Ham, taking after Sui's fashion, goes hunting for another and finds it in the spray. Almost looking for that 5 kill, but it's not quite going to be there. Darby to take one, giving the defenders another round. I mean, when you have that power, when you're doing that well, you just have to keep it moving. The Oni Phantom was all that he needed to find these kills.
Still at match point. Shockers just need 1 win to put this match away, and then we'll move on to our next fight. Hawk around the corner doesn't get anyone blinding.
Cover going out. Not ready.
Sean coming around the corner to get a good concuss, and it's the catalyst for Camps to take from space, finds 2 beautiful headshots. They start dropping that utility to secure some more plant area as A is under hold. Wichita State looks like it's coming to a close. If James Madison can't find something miraculous in a 2v5 as Truman takes 1 more down.
1 enemy
Truman
remaining.
holding his ground well, sees 1 more from a distance, can't hold it though. But the attackers are going to find it anyways.
Attackers win.
4 players left to secure point 2.
Shutting down that flank from behind was, I think, the last nail in the coffin that managed to allow Wichita State to get the victory. Pretty dominant so far throughout the match, 13-6 and then 13-3. So very wide margins of victory. So congratulations to Wichita State. We want to take this moment, though, to give some thanks to the sponsors that have allowed us to put on this great show that we have. We have Truth and Duncan as our sponsors. Truth Initiative is America's largest nonprofit public health organization committed to making tobacco and nicotine addiction a thing of the past. And of course, Duncan, Star League runs on Duncan, America runs on Duncan. Big thank you to both of these sponsors for helping us to put on this great show. And that's going to do it for the first round. We have one more game to come up, and then we'll close it out for the night. We'll take a short break. Greg, do you have any final thoughts on what we saw of Wichita State versus James Madison?
No, I like the consistency in the play and people punishing over consistency. I think we saw some varied gameplay and a nice defending the homeland kind of feel from both players playing super well on the defensive side. It kind of felt like we switched home turfs there a few times, but It was a good game overall.
And just good, consistent gameplay is all you can ask for. We'll be right back after this break with the final match of the night. Do not go away. We'll have more Valorant for you after this. Managed to get a double thanks to Sui. 2 headshots. Oh, you pick up the spike, but everything has been evened up thanks to Sui. And it doesn't even need the blind around the corner as Skeeves with the Guardian gets a victory for Wichita State.
Wichita State to pull something strange out of the bag, but JMU got to deal.
It's just the shuffling on top of the mound.
Staying sturdy on the sand. A little pepper damage is not enough. Skeeves capitalizes on that look to find one, and a stray bullet on the second one. Shoots a little over, but finds the third.
James Madison off of the point. A firefight between Murr and the others. Manages to pick up 2. It's going to be a mad dash back toward the spike. Once his killjoy wears off, he's just going to try to stick it out through. Truman holding down the ground for him, picking up a quad. And Wichita State not managed to get his hawk to land. Because the blinding from the Omen hit first, that means they just had a split second where Wichita State had sight and James Madison didn't. And that was enough for them to take the round.
Hampton, Oni's Phantom is going to be dumping utility onto this area. Absolutely blinding everyone. And look at that Thiessen to take 2. And all it cost him was Sue.
Still very powerful effects. So James Madison might be starting back a comeback. And talk about the other ultimate that has a lot of offensive capability. They're bringing out the Tour de Force. Bit of a trade back and forth, but Sui picks up a triple before the Tour de Force can even be a factor. See entirely. Going to force James Madison onto one of the lesser traveled points for them, where Sui is just waiting. He's been in this position before. He plows through all the util, not getting blinded at all, just waiting for the 1P and catches his prey. Look at that flick by Sui. He gets a quad. Now we do know, though, that Duraco is pretty good at the one-on-one. So, yeah, if Wichita State doesn't respect him as a player and doesn't take these double peaks, then they can see this round still go away. Oh, but it comes down to the one-on-one in the very end. I mean, yes, you got the win. Oh, I don't, does Truman even know he's there? Oh, that would have been the perfect pick, but he gets caught in his ability animation. And Thiessen and Truman just bring out the elimination train.
He's gonna get this hit down for one. Tries to play through boxes, and they step around. It's such a tough.
Still has a long way. Still has a lot of mistakes that they can make. I mean, they got 10 extra chances at this point.
And they're coming in strong. WSU looking to make a big show of the final round here, but it's not enough. The defensive side mows down 3 of them. In Ham.
I mean, they got 10 extra chances at this point.
And they're coming in strong. WSU looking to make a big show of the final round here, but it's not enough. The defensive side mows down 3 of them. In Ham. Taking after Sue's fashion, goes hunting for another and finds it in the spray. Almost.
On the corner, doesn't get anyone blinding.
Coming around the corner to get a good concuss, and it's the catalyst for Cam. Takes from space, finds 2 beautiful headshots.
Welcome back to the Varsity-League studio. You're joining us for the second half of our Valorant competition happening here on Wednesday. We've got our final match. We've got Mizzou versus Southern Miss on deck. I'm stereo host Jem Palmer, joined by Greg Smith. And also, it seems like the pattern that we saw in the first game of a lot of three-point stages being brought out is not letting up in the second game.
It sure is not. It looks like we've got a lot of excitement around Site C, or at least it being available to us. And after Picks and Bans come out, we're going to see Lotus and Haven in the lineup immediately. So we don't even have to wait for round 3 to see these maps. I'm looking forward to it, and so are the teams. They're also looking forward to being on the attacking side. As the Picks and Bans came out, we learned that they might find the home field advantage to be on the attack instead.
Which is interesting, because last game we saw teams really heavily favoring defense. So we'll see what they have up their sleeve in terms of attack. And as we get to this game, let's just take a look at where we were beforehand at the schedule that we had lined up for tonight. We had our first match, Wichita State, going up against James Madison. They took that 2-0. So now we go Mizzou versus Southern Miss. Missouri versus Mississippi, not bordering states, but in the same region, both along the Mississippi. So we have a little bit of a Southern rivalry kind of coming out between these two teams, and I am eager to see it. Speaking of these two teams, let's take a look at the lineups that we have for both of the teams, what individual players we can look forward to. We've got Piggy, Conch, I'm just going to say Crinkle, Panda, Super Shy. And then good luck on that first name on Southern Miss, Greg.
Ooh, we're going to go with 9Kev, Jackson, Lobster, Sinks, and Theozin. And some of these players I actually remember. I don't know if y'all have been here as long as these players have, but we've seen W Panda go pretty strong before. And Piggy in the all caps, I believe, is going to be their in-game leader for Mizzou. I'm excited for this grudge match kind of a feel. These Southern rivalry regional agents going against each other again.
And I'm very excited that this second stage is starting out on Lotus instead of Ascent, because Ascent is so well known. We basically saw mirror compositions for both teams, so it was a mirror match. But Lotus has an opportunity for a lot more variety. We actually saw James Madison bring out Deadlock for Lotus as well. Now, didn't make too much of an impact, I gotta say, but still, the variety is there.
Yeah, definitely. And variety is what I'm looking for. These mirror matches are a really good litmus to see what kind of play style the teams naturally want to be fighting against. But I'm looking forward to see the variability in the intrinsic play styles of the teams and the comps that they want to go for. And I think taking the attack side on both of these is going to give us that feel that maybe these teams aren't going for the most natural or the most tried and true tested forms of the maps. I mean, they're not taking Ascent. In fact, it may have been one of the bans. And they're moving into the aggressive stances on these.
And for those of you who would think that Split is the best map, I know there are some people out there who think that is going to be the third. So we will be going back to a 2-point map if that comes into play. But right now, let's take an overview onto Lotus, just see all the points, all the obstacles, all of the terrain these teams are going to have to deal with as we head into our next match. We started out with Wichita State versus James Madison, and now we are moving on to Mizzou versus Southern Miss in this NACE Star League battle.
That's going to be the Tigers versus the Golden Eagles on the beautiful green grass of Lotus to start us up with all of the interactive map that we love to see coming out of Valorant here, with a little bit of ropes, a little bit of high and low, some stairs all around, a couple of revolving doors. It's going to be exciting 3-map crunch. To bring it off, we're obviously going to have the pistol rounds. It's going to bring us into some high energy gameplay right off the bat.
Now, last game, we actually saw someone bring out an Odin on point C. Don't know if that's going to happen again, but any stage where an Odin is an option, I'm all for.
Yeah,
okay?
I love seeing that Weed Whacker just absolutely dump onto unsuspecting teams that think they have the step furthest ahead.
We also do tend to see, both teams chose Raze last time they were on here in Lotus, just kind of those more closed-in abilities, a lot of great lineups that you can have on the paint shells. And of course, I just love Shen as so showstopper, because we've seen it completely turn around. We saw, I think, a triple last time the showstopper was used in the last match. So should Raze be picked again? I hope we're going to see a lot more big explosions, because my brain is simple. I just love big explosions, big booms, team dead.
It's a good thing to be looking forward to, and it's a good thing all of the Raze players are on your side with that one as well. I remember all of the compilation videos that first came out as Raze was dropping in the very, very OG. She was the biggest, most exciting part about it. It just blow everything up. That's an ultimate we can get behind. That's something that makes you want to stay up all night getting that beta key.
People would pair those VODs with the dev comment, well, we don't want the ultimates to just be press the ultimate, win the fight instantly, and then
So
it just
good.
go fire in the hole, just an instant ace.
And a good thing we've got to keep a double blast pack movement. That's always a fun one to see the pros without. And it looks like we are going to get a little bit of a mirror matchup here. Not exactly. I do like seeing the Viper on this map as we're able to cut down on the mobility a little bit. And this very, very famous wall down A is going to be the first thing they auto-lock.
Also an Astra pick being brought out for Southern Miss, so a lot of sight denial is going to be available for them.
Yeah, that's true. And a little bit of heals on both sides as well. We didn't have a whole lot of Sky in our recent games. As we're moving up into it, yeah, the controller difference here between the passive and more forward stances. Southern Miss is going to be moving up, leaving that controller in the alert position on A, fighting off any pushback.
Through the smoke, a jump peek is going to bait out a few shots. Looks like that KJ util on C is also cleared out. The team's rotating back over, possibly focusing on A. They get their first pick. Super Shy
Takes down J-Wen.
Oh, but it's going to be answered back with the paint shells onto Piggy. Crinkles is trying to keep Southern Miss in it. It's down to 3 apiece. Point A looks like the place to go because that sucker is wide open.
QQ on the back foot here, just
Cover
holding
going
things
out.
together. Going to drop another vision denial
Spike
on
planted.
as they start making their way downtown, looking to take A in from the spawn. Southern Miss is ready for it though, and is protecting from all angles. The bird's going to come out. No information is information. They're going to be dumping utility in to secure a nice, smooth take in. Lobster takes a little bit of damage, just a couple peppers. Q going to be dropping that turret and looking to get an early pop in the defuse. Look at that.
Oh!
Beautiful. Just enough to upset you. Almost to the half. Ooh. Before Super Shy comes around for 2 and 3 frags of the round.
I like the strategy that Southern Miss had because using the satchel just purely for the disruption. And really, also when you have the KJ still standing on your team, disruption's just the name of the game. I love as someone self-admittedly who just can't click heads willy-nilly. Some of us, you know, do struggle with accuracy. It's always nice to have that agent that you can pull out where the spike's planted. All I got to do is keep them busy until it goes off. Swarm grenade here, swarm grenade there. We're good to go.
It's a nice cheeky move to keep yourself out of the gunfire. I mean, it doesn't matter how good you are technically. Being out of danger is simply better. We're going to see Raikou holding their angle. The jiggles are ready, both up and down. It's looking good. That's a solid hold. Still, the line is down on A, so Sky's going to be careful about anyone coming around the corners here. Super Shy gets the jump on Raikou. Finds another one on a J-Wen. Piggy going to get one, and Conch 1-3, another. Nearly a team ace here as Mizzou. Although they're not really slated to win round 2, there's not a lot of damage going out against the economy for round 3. It should be a clean bonus.
Oh!
Never mind, Theosin from a distance cleans one up with a 1-2 to the face. Just fixing those eyebrow piercings for him. Super Shy getting in the plant.
Already, if I'm Theosin, I'm elated at how that turned
Ooh.
out. 5-1, you're able to pick up one of their guns, put a little bit of dent in their econ. That's just those small victories where you can get them when you're in a situation where you're going up against a team by
180's the
yourself.
flash well, but the info still comes out. They're going to be really honing in on this. Look at this 3v1. Can he pace it out? Can Theosin find the 1v1? Oh, on the first one, it's a shoulder shot, and he goes down to the Phantom. It's a tough hand you get dealt when you're already bonusing somebody else's ghost against a Phantom. I mean, he was in over his head and still found a way to come up for a little gasp of air and take one to the grave with him. Now it's a 0-2. The bonus is in, and Mizzou should have the creds to bring this into a real gun round. As a by-phase takes down a flash handful of seconds.
Talk about a KJ who's also popping off, has already charged up that already charged up that Killjoy. So a lockdown might be
Taking that back.
Mizzou's future. Panda keeping an eye open on the mound for C, but it seems most of the pressure is going on to B. Might just try a quick plant and then Killjoy right after that. Just keep that point all cleared out.
Spike planted.
Know that you don't have any sort of abilities that can be used against it at this point. First pick by Crinkles. Panda's gonna follow up shortly after, and there goes the lockdown right onto B. That's gonna keep Mizzou at bay. The door opens, chance for some fire being exchanged, but Super Shy is going to be cautious. Just let them get all the time that they can off of that Killjoy before engaging again.
A 3v4 and health is not exactly full for everyone. Goes in to find another one, feeling good. Riku leading the charge. There's the low health view. Oh, almost looking to defend that spike area, but attackers are able to absolutely throw in the gunfire and bring another 3 to their end.
And I love how Southern Miss played that. I always like teams that are more proactive than reactive, and they recognized, hey, we've got one of our ultimates charged up super early. They're going to have nothing to answer it back. By using it and delaying out the time where we give them virtually no room for error, and almost make them panic, rushing in to try to defuse the spike. Then we just lay in wait to where they're all on the spike and take them out. Beautiful plan, executed beautifully.
It was a nice little journey on the fly. Can't bring us back in to watch Mizzou's defense really spread thin across the map here. They've got people layered pretty heavy on A. They're going to be sending one over. As all the utility Lobster's holding might not be enough with the Bucky to hold this together after a push. The spike in hand. Seriously considering walking back down from C as time to rotate has been given. Reconsidering maybe more of an A hit, but the position is deep on A defense. Are they going to be able to fight this? We've seen some serious gunplay from Riku's position. Can they replicate?
I do like that they're throwing out the util of the Viper wall. They're not going to dry peek that, and they're able to disarm those two defenders with ease. I like that Southern Miss is just not getting lazy at all. They're recognizing when they need to use their util, when they need to lock off sight, and then very quickly getting the picks that they need. They're going to move forward, plant another spike, and go into post-plant.
And they did it with the heals as well, which doesn't look like the other team's getting. And 2 low health people dealing with the concussing dog is going to give W Panda and Crinkles another couple of hits, bringing it to just Lobster on the defense. Plenty of guns at disposal, and it goes with a long distance Bucky. It almost makes it. Gets a good shot out, but it's not quite enough. A little pepper damage is not quite going to secure them this round, and that's 4 points for Southern Miss. They're feeling good. The ball is rolling down their hill.
The very first game that we saw today was decided, I believe in the first round, it was 13-6 and then 13-3 for the winning team. And how that really was decided was that each of the first halves was ended at an 11-1 lead. So now I'm thinking, how much of a lead can Southern Miss build up for themselves? If they're in double digits, at least, 10-2 at least, then yeah. I think they've secured the win, definitely.
I mean, you have to consider, though, the kind of push that we saw the losing team get once it was their turn to play on the side, which they would prefer. We could see Southern Miss maybe only take 7 or 8 total and it not be enough in the end when the switch comes out.
Southern Miss isn't going to be able to take a point very quickly. They're smoked off on B, so we're putting all their attention onto C. The dog goes through. That immediately just baits out all that KJ util. I'd sure be happy knowing that you don't have to deal with any more of those grenades. In fact, Lobster is given a lot of space over toward Piggy, but that is not really where Southern Miss wants to plant. They're going to go in with the showstopper, push it around the corner, doesn't get anybody. The Hawk thrown out in response by Mizzou. They trade 1 for 1. Southern Miss is going to drop the spike down to just 3. Panda gets concussed. We're going to have a swing out from tree on towards A side. A Hawk to engage.
And what a spearheading application. To have the spike carrier bring the ultimate. Piggy is going to find one, and Panda looks to go down to J-Wen. Brings himself up to a 3K to close out the round as the last one standing.
They had a 1-person disadvantage. They were trying to plant 3v4, but they still found a way to get victory. I was so nervous here. That was a great dodge of that breach util. He just wasn't expecting Piggy to not have any sort of blinding or concussed on him, to just swing around and get that head tap. So now Southern Miss having an even bigger winning streak, going up 5-0. This is going to be almost a full buy round for Mizzou. They have rifles, but they don't have full shields. And that makes even a phantom headshot, the one that Super Shy has, deadly.
Here.
Southern Miss feeling good about pushing up this A wall. They're getting a lot of protection from it, and they love using it to really divide up the territory from
I've got
anyone
your trail.
who's covering really deep. Getting some nice, smooth, shallow cover from Yozen, and he's willing to back off and wait for a little bit of support to come in.
Here.
Sure enough, he releases sight, and a clean rotate comes out. They're watching mid.
Spike
Everybody's being
planted.
deliberate here. It's going to be a nice 5v5 in the end. But some lurkers in mid are going to find each other. Who might take it? Oh, they
Super
just
Shy with such a
barely.
flank. They don't know he's back there. He gets one. They all swing around. He stops the flank on himself by taking out Lobster with a double. He's going to run back to his team, more than happy with how things turned out.
What a wild flank on a flank. The Sentinels just love to wander where they don't belong.
Cover going out.
And there's just not enough time, I think, for the spike to even be defused. That Omen was looking the opposite way, too. Oh, he thought they were holding out on that angle. He had a coin flip of angles to choose, and he chose poorly, as a Holy Grail Knight would say.
And Mizzou up to 6-0.
I also have this Viper's Pit that's now been brought out, and I think that really slides very nicely into Southern Miss's strategy. I think they could use it in a very similar way they used the Killjoy in round 3. They just get the plant very fast, set up the Viper's Pit to really make it so you can't retake the point easily at all, and then just let the timer run out, especially since I will make a correction here. It looks like we did have a bit of a switch up. It is Mizzou leading 6-0. So apologies for the mix-up. Thank you for production for fixing the overlay on that.
Mizzou holding the sight pretty strong.
There.
Got the spike up front, and they're going to watch it from back pocket. They've got one more rotating in. Just making sure to clear anything out. Staring right at it. Right across the hall. Khan's just going to find one before going down and use the trade there. Jalen looking to push up and get even more capital off of it. Too strong with the Vandal.
Rolling Thunder being brought out for the recontest onto C, but there's very little time, and Mizzou is just waiting with open arms for that sound cue. Might just try to get a few picks onto point. That's the best that Southern Miss can hope for right now. Mizzou's going to get the win and go up to 7-0. Oh, they fall to the spike. But with this much of a lead, I mean, they certainly have the credits to ride that out.
Super Shy just feeling a little bit like a silly goose on that one, but they do make that 7th point on Southern Miss. They're going to be throwing out that Viper Wall once again. That's something you can auto-lock everybody. Just ready to get into the next round. As the defense come out, it's a heavy stack on C. They got a lot of pushback last time. And that post plant is tough to move into. I mean, Mizzou is confident with the post plant and ready to really move back and let you come into the space and then just assail the situation with late game utility. See Southern Miss staying strong in their
Recovering
picks. He's sending one over to B.
Blocking
And
vision.
Mizzou's just feeling things out, just poking here and there. Dealing with a little bit of utility right in the heart of a site. Panda coming around, doing a couple of pepper shots just right at the floor. See if they can't scare anyone out of the woodwork, and it's not going to happen. Lobster on the side of Southern Miss.
I think more so just to clear out the KJ util, since that's been a favorite spot for them to place it. But it's actually on A where the KJ has decided to set up, and this long flank that's coming out from their Viper, I think, is going to take the KJ unaware. A swing around, the KJ's not even looking there. If you look to the right, and oh!
Absolutely wild.
Alarm box out.
Get so close but still see so little.
Turrets destroyed.
And a little bit of small damage done after Piggy.
30 seconds
Throwing in
left.
the utility Lobster is under serious fire and he knows it, but it's not going to be enough. Knowing is only half the battle and Super Shy is ready to take the other half.
Planted.
They're immediately going to start on the lockdown. I mean, I think they probably could have waited just a few seconds later on that one. Southern Miss wasn't really touching the point, and so you maybe just to get a few more seconds away on that spike detonation, you move in. Showstopper is going to be brought out by Southern Miss.
Whoa.
Trade 1 for 1. It's down to 3 apiece. Swarm grenades go out on the spike, just trying to delay this as much as they can. There's still enough time. Oh, there was still enough time to fuse the spike, but the paint shells were thrown right on top of it. I think Mizzou, just on time, is going to pick this, get this.
Oh, man. And Theosin tried so hard to protect the defuse there, but the utility was just dumped on top of the spike and kept pushing people off. We've seen that quite a few times. It looks like that is the favorite pick for these teams. Now look at all the utility which always just gets thrown on just one after another. You don't even have to be listening.
Yeah, Mizzou is really recognizing how much space they give themselves with this particular comp if they plant the spike quickly. They've got so much stuff just to throw out in terms of disruption. They just kind of wait. They feel out each individual point, and then when they get a pick on one, it's just a lightning decision. Okay, let's charge this point while the team isn't there. Set up, and then let the clock be our best friend. Showstopper to start things off. It picks up that Omen. Like I said, they're wasting no time at all planning on B. Viper's Pit quickly after that, gonna make this retake a real pain.
It's the very center of the map play right here, which is not a lot of something that we've seen before from this team. Mizzou really demanding space. Mizzou's Piggy taking out Lobster and Jwen. Trying to fight their way back into the smoke, back into the Viper's Pit. Theosin on the back foot is going to make a long way around, and they may be met with the controller just kind of lurking about and leading the charge away from mid. But nope. Oh, yes, there it is. Crinkles. It's going to be the one to take the post around. A little exit frag we love to see as people all have to flee from the site. Bringing it to a 9-0 in Mizzou's hands. The ultimates, though, of Southern Miss are here. 3 of them on board. A little bit of a situational one that can be played in some fun ways. Otherwise, that lockdown, it's pretty known how the lockdown is going to be used. It's pretty threatening. Once you go in to get the plant, you have to be ready to defend it from a distance. You have to be ready to put it in a position where you can throw the utility at it, or that lockdown is going to secure the defuse.
Mizzou also has a great engage with the Seekers that is online. They're going to use everything else first. The dog isn't going to spot anybody. Oh, that's a great bit of information they got off of that smoke animation.
Healing over here.
Crinkles picks up a double to basically just clear out A entirely.
And almost for free. What with the healing that Miss Piggy's given away.
Hawk out.
Nice communication between the team is going to flash out past that smoke. Open the way up for Crinkles, but I think ultimately they're going to be focusing on to C. They have to dislodge Lobster. They're going to use the Seekers, put a bit of pressure. Lobster has brought out the Omen, just what I like to see, but it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade.
Maybe just standing around and clearing the area. Baby Panda can set things up vision denial-wise, and everybody's all on top of each other. Only 2 players left from Southern Miss side. They're going to have to work together to make this push, but it's going to be through smokes and through the snake fight. Not a great position, especially when Crinkles is wielding such a threatening piece of weaponry here. As far as 2v1s go, Jwen to lead the charge in, holding an angle. Still when the smoke clears. Could be advantageous, but it looks like everyone's hiding in the other corner. And could this just be for outro frags?
Yeah, I think that's what all you can really go for at this scenario. Oh, still caught out by Super Shy. Gets his one, trying to pick up the second, not going to be successful. Just get out of the range of the spike explosion.
And I'll be honest, I would probably be too greedy to use my flashbang in the last 3 seconds of the round like that, but it secured them an outro frag, so more power to them.
Well, this is a bit concerning here, what we're seeing here. I don't want to know the backstory or hidden lore behind this scene, so we're just going to move on, pretend it didn't happen, and get back to the game at hand. Mizzou could have a perfect first half on deck here. I think Southern Miss, they do have a good amount of ultimates to use. Really, the question is, I mean, they've got one good engage ultimate with the Seekers, and then a Killjoy maybe to try to hold Mizzou at bay, but not really seeing any way in which the Tigers' momentum is stunted.
Oh, Kyrgyzstan takes one, but was not ready, quite for the pinch there, or the verticality that the blast pack player. Q from the side finds Super Shy. There's been so many beautiful flanks happening from these teams. I mean, they're just ready to take the mobility of Lotus and leverage it against the team Q here. Definitely being picked on by Khan. He's gonna find it, him knifed down, and it's not even a switch. Conch gets one more out of it on the Lobster, bringing it to 11. We don't know though. A perfect half may be what it takes to stay in the game. We're not sure what Southern Miss might look like on their attack.
And we do sometimes see teams very lopsided in terms of whether they like to attack, and both of them chose to attack, so both of them seem more comfortable in that role. And Crinkles is just relentless, and how consistently he's facing 2-on-1s and yet winning and trading well for his team. We're going to see a huge engagement here on toward A. The blast packs in to start. Paint shells thrown out into the corner. In fact, dueling paint shells trying to get out of there with a double blast pack, but becomes a sitting duck in the air for Super Shy.
It is just not enough, and Mizzou is all together in this. Do a little door switch, and they're going to be met. Ooh, right by Theozen, but it's not enough to just be there. He can't secure it when the whole pack is looking at him, so they're sending in the spike. Mizzou's Conch 1-3. Securing a defensive hold on the plant. Now they've got a spread hold on it. Still using the wall. They're looking right through, but it's still a threat. Jay-Wen gonna send through the wall. Lobster looking to get the defender Killjoy lockdown in. Hopefully push people off the spike. There's still enough sightline though, if the smokes fall, to see the spike from outside of the lockdown. The Q through the boxes finds another one, that's 2. And they're trying to keep him at bay. It might just be enough.
One enemy remaining.
A green little exit frag. Looking to shadow step out. It's not quite enough. Piggy's gonna go down, and so will Q.
I was thinking at least teleport away, at least get that. Well, we could see just a clean sweep from Mizzou onto Southern Miss. Just one round left. We're gonna see just how much Mizzou favored attacking. But I mean, defense, I would just say, are you gonna predict, is this gonna be 13-0, or do you think Southern Miss is going to take a round?
I think Southern Miss, now that they're on the attack, can come out guns blazing, and I think they'll take 2 rounds. But I think round 3 from now is going to be where it really gets tight, where it really gets scary. Because that's typically the round that you're not supposed to win. And going into it with no mistakes left is scary. And to have the ferocity here on round 1, to just kind of throw everything out the door, we're going to see a pretty stacked defense on one side. Oh no, they're just stacked up front. It could be a hard hitting unstoppable force versus a
huge
wall. Q, Lobster, and Jay-Wen each to find their 1 with lots of extra assist damage going around. And I mean, the rotation is coming, but it might not be enough. 5v2 with the plant already there, and they've got so much utility. Super Shy is going to find 1 before going down.
Player standing.
Is it enough? Crinkles alone in this. They don't know where he's coming from yet until he moves the door. Now they're ready for it. Everybody coming around. He can only do the best he can. He's going to switch the skins, go for the classic, getting rid of any utility to keep him at the door. Oh, the spike is just so low already. And they're trying to take out the turret. That's all the crosshair motion that they need. And they're going to close it.
It's a team ace for Southern Miss, and they get their first round. But I think you're right, Greg. When you're talking about the bonus, they basically forced Southern Miss into a position where they're going to have to win the first 3 rounds in a row. And hey, it did happen multiple times during our first match, but overall, the general 2-for-1 opening is standard for a reason, because it's just so difficult to win once everyone else gets those Vandals and Phantoms.
But watching these games over the years has taught me anything. Is that it's not quite over till it's over. Riku, although they have the upper hand in this range of a fight, might still be caught off guard by the waiting players. Conch and Piggy holding their positions as well. Good defense is boring to watch. Write that down.
Seems like the focus is being placed back on towards C. They're going to pick up the ulti orb, but this smoke is going to hold them at bay for now as Mizzou repositions themselves. They've called out where Southern Miss is going to go, so they have got a good amount of people to face off should they push C, but that ain't going to happen. Instead, we're going to ring around the rosy once again and try A.
Good, good. Keep them on their toes. So much vision now. So much utility. Oh my goodness, from a distance. Super shy. A great hit on the Sheriff. And the rotation's happening now as people flood in from both sides to take A site. It's free game. The spike is on the grass, but they're looking for the plant
30
now.
seconds
Panda
left.
around the side, gonna try to take
Planted.
some. Oh, shots on. And they're gonna find it. One more Gyozen goes down from a side on the Judge. Available as well from W Panda. They're throwing out the orbs. Just trying to clutter the site as they move in, but there's already too much on it. It can't be there, and the defuse is facilitated with utility on the spike. A classic play.
Defenders win.
Well, Mizzou picks up that first round fairly effortlessly, 13-1, and they'll be going to their match point onto Haven. So we'll be waiting for the next round to start. Before we get to the next round, however, we do have a message that we want to share from one of our sponsors. We have this video by Truth that we'll share with you. At the other end of this video, we'll talk more about Haven and see what Mizzou's chances are for sweeping, or if Southern Miss will fight back.
Breathe in and know that vaping nicotine can actually increase feelings of stress.
Yet some vape companies get rich telling you it's a stress reliever.
So let's call it what it is. It's a breath of stress air.
All right, now we've got Haven on deck. What do you think these teams' chances are on Haven? What are your favorite picks to see? I always like Haven just because, personally, you know, Cypher's my favorite, so Bind and Haven have a special place in my heart just for seeing more of him. We don't often see too much of him, but there's always that possibility for Haven.
I always like seeing cheeky tour de force plays on this map, especially when C-Long exists. It just begs you to grab that permanent back pocket off. So he's always a good call for the defense as well. With everything so close together, the connectivity of this map, it's always nice to have a killjoy as well. It makes that lockdown so viable. And then the classic plays too. We've already seen these teams are comfortable with Omen. I would love to see the Omen here as well. And the mobility that provides. Jet is always a must pick too. A big name in mobility as far as connected maps go. So I could see this being a lot of places. I would just hate to see another mirror matchup.
Yeah, I'm hoping for a little bit. I mean, even picks like a Sova, you know, if you get that dart placed well on Haven, you can basically clear out the whole point. So going to be testing the team's abilities to get those lineups very well. Just see how well they practice them, I should say.
That's another thing about these old school maps is that people have the lineups set up so those Sova darts can come in from quite a distance.
Well, we'll see what the picks are quite shortly here. Once again, Mizzou picked up an easy win on Lotus, 13-1. We'll see if they can close it out in a complete sweep in round 2, as we get a chance also to just take a general fly-through overview of Haven, see all the points that we've been mentioning. And I think unlike Lotus, we see every kind of now and then people go toward B. It's usually 1 or 2 times, though, on Haven that point B comes into play.
I mean, it's definitely more of a threatening position, right? And I always love bringing it up when the map first drops. People thought you would never want to go towards B, but it's made itself into a viable placement for sure. Though we usually see a big push towards A or B and then a fall back. It totally depends on the game, the play style of both teams as well, though.
All right, let's get to Haven on deck, see what the choices are. Once again, you are watching Mizzou versus Southern Miss. Mizzou is up 1 in this fight against Southern Miss. It's the Tigers versus the Golden Eagles. So always we have a nice range of general mascots. I always like that we kind of have a little bit of variety. Sometimes we have days where it's nothing but just carnivores fighting each other. So to get that little bit of difference, it's usually carnivores and birds, I find, too.
Oftentimes, yeah. Everybody's high school had the same mascot, and it's fun to see those kind of animals graduate and get serious when it comes into the collegiate esports.
I do have to say, if there is a competition on most creative mascot, it would have had to go to Wichita State earlier with the Shockers, who made me realize that it's a shock of corn.
It's a good
of grain, excuse me, that's in their logo.
A good little bit of history is there. You know, proud to be
Where?
part of Kansas, the largest city.
Looks like here we
Swing
can
around
just
the
see a few replays from how we got here. Just seeing the stranglehold that Mizzou had on this stage. They ended the first half perfectly, 12-0. They only lost one in the first pistol round of round 2 of the second half. And this was a situation where they positioned themselves constantly throughout the match. They would plant the spike very quickly and then use kind of the general stalling abilities up the KJ and even the Rays. They used the satchels every now and again to just kind of boot people off the point and off the spike, and that worked out wonders for them. They just kept on rolling. But overall, as we're looking back at this stage, do you think there was just anything? I mean, what do you think Southern Miss can do to really get back in this, especially after such a lopsided first round?
I mean, that could be the change that they're looking for, is just changing the map. I know that we're switching from a newer map to a much older map. Otherwise, a couple things have stayed the same. They were pretty consistent. They had a lot of good mechanical plays there for sure. We saw a lot of cooperation. I loved seeing that the healing really came out on both teams. And that synergy, I think, is one of the very first things that I look for. One of the biggest changes I like to see is working more together, staying hot on the comms, making sure that utility is being used for everyone. Though we did see the utility really shut down the game quite a few times, because it was used very, very early on to really get their way into a site and really leverage information, or at the very end to make sure that the defuse of the plant was impossible.
Well, here we go. We're into the second round of Mizzou versus Southern Miss. Tigers versus Golden Eagles. Here we go on to Haven.
A classic map, one of the big three. I just love seeing it in the pool. I'm so glad they're picking it. It's probably one of my favorites. I don't care what the Split fans say.
I will say Haven is kind of a great showcase of Valorant's, just ability to kind of shake things up just in terms. I mean, we had Bind, a stage with no mid. You can't have a stage with no mid. We've got Haven, a stage with 3 points. You can't have a stage with 3 points. Yes, we can. Yeah. I'm just looking for the first stage with 4 points so we can start. Ooh. Yeah, let's do it, Riot. That's my challenge to you.
That's a bold say.
All right, though. Here we go. Task at hand, Mizzou versus Southern Miss. Southern Miss is going to be attacking first. Immediately, Mizzou getting a couple of picks.
A strong defense from them. Lobster and Theozen looking to fight back, though, taking 2 and 1 respectively. And the Gecko is out today. Very exciting, and still alive. It's going to be by Theozen, who is defending his turf well.
This is a tough position, too. They didn't even manage to get the spike planted. That means Theozen has to, at best, hope that he takes some ones-on-ones, but a wallbang gets him.
Yeah, he couldn't get that utility back into the pocket as they were camping right on it. Interesting, it feels like. That feeling of, oh, the spike's been dropped, I have to get to this point, but now an extra point, which is usually not very valuable, is being overwatched by the other team. And Gecko just has to go back constantly. I mean, going back to pick up your utility is something that a good Gecko player has to have in their mind always.
Starting off in round 2, Southern Miss has to push in with nothing more than just some classics. Maybe a sheriff here or there. A disc is going to be thrown out. Get a lot of space for them to go up into window, but there's also an alarm bot there, so that's going to let Mizzou know that Southern Miss is trying to push through there and just rips right through them with that Phantom. Super Shy picks up a double. There's only one left, and that's going to be a flawless for Mizzou.
W Panda really watching the backs of the players there as they get flashed. But the 2Ks left and right from people, knowing that after they get one, they stay loose, they stay cool, and they keep looking for the next one. There was just a rock-solid defense of the area, knowing not to push up too deep. Take what you can and get into defense when you get flashed. Sidestep coming out. Super Shy. Doing well to just spray through the blind.
Well, we got full purchases on deck for Southern Miss, although not quite full. They don't have enough to get full shields, and that might be a crucial equalizer for Mizzou. They have less powerful guns, but they got to get through less health. They are trading okay for round 3. They're 4-3 in favor of Southern Miss. As long as Mizzou can pick up just like that, a pick here or there, I would say 2 picks, and I'd be happy with how round 3 turned out.
I mean, but those were totally different playstyles. Crinkle's dad just ooched around the corner, took one for free, and walked away, and he's looking for it again. This is a very defensive play. Wow, I'm surprised Jay Wen stood right on the box, stood his ground, and took that one. Sova v Sova, down a long, what a play. I mean, those first 2 kills of the round, that was just them playing high pace and trying to catch ground early, but got caught off guard. Super Shy has a little bit of a trade action in A short. After a little group back together, we see 2 full health players walking down A long.
Ooh.
And W Panda, he's in a safe angle, but he's not going to get a lot of info off this.
No, he's not looking the right way. Yozen is just slowly moving up. I don't know if they're even putting into account. You saw just a little bit of a flick. He manages to recover, no scopes it, which is more reliable than you would think with the Marshall. Now it's just a one-on-one. Plant ready to go through. He's going to throw out the blinding. It hits.
The plant was real. He's watching the truck, waiting for him to leave, but he's already left. Such a tough position. W Panda has he's relied on his mechanical sense to get him out of game sense problems. It's not for sure whether they're in hell or not. He's looking. Can't quite make it in time, but while you're dropping, that Marshall can't do you very much. Theozen takes a clean trace down and just body shots him out. That's 1 point.
I mean, again, though, it's your bonus round. They took out 4 out of 5. The fact that it was even in this close a possibility for Mizzou to win out of a no-scoping a Marshall.
It's just tough. It's a good thing that they're comfortable with the Marshall. They were almost able to secure that area. Just got a little bit fuzzy, and I don't exactly know if that shadow step was supposed to be a fake out or if they were trying to step outside. But they fought hard. The vision now is already going out to slow down any big pushes onto B. They're going to call the bluff with the Owl Drone, though, and see no defense on B. There's one tight on C and long on C that they might be running into as Gecko comes creeping around the corner. And a deep hold on A short that might be called by Q pretty soon.
Riku recognizes the alarm bot, gets rid of it. Mizzou will still get tipped off, though, that alarm bot was destroyed. Piggy, though, not moving up toward window. Bit of fire being exchanged into garage. Southern Miss just playing it cool for now. This is a tough situation that Q is also in. Doesn't want to cross the sideline of that op. Just gets away with it. Super Shy picking up a double. And that really puts a dent in the C-plant strategy for Southern Miss, especially since they dropped the spike, so now Mizzou can just keep an eye over that.
30 seconds
To
left.
drop the spike and be pushed back into Cubby. It's a long road back in. These double doors are not comfortable when you know that people can be standing anywhere back there.
Shadows traveling.
And not just in a pre-round threat. I mean, this place is going to be heavily guarded. They drop the vision now, but it's not enough. And through the smoke, W Panda to find one. Sprinkles, sprays, and Q's able to trace back the spray. An impressive feat of technicality, but it's not quite enough. And after a peek onto the long hallway, Piggy is going to be the one to find it.
We're going to have a timeout be brought out by Southern Miss. I like them using that timeout at this point. Not going to let things snowball too much out of control. But I do have to say also, one of the things that you were talking about, one of the big questions you had was how much is the attack versus defense preference going to come into this match? Because we had in the first match, we had such a heavy focus on the teams really favored defense more than attack. And here we were wondering, well, is just Mizzou just really comfortable with attacking? And so, of course, they took Lotus because they're attacking. I think with the scoreline we're seeing here, the answer is no. They're just as good on defense as they are on attack.
Yeah, and that's a good position to find yourself in. But as for the other team that's now taking a break, they have to decide what really needs to be changed here, right? You can't throw it out the window to, oh, it had to be the map or it had to be this or that. It's getting serious. It's getting down to the wire. And this is their last chance to really push back before the snowball keeps rolling.
Yeah, and they really haven't had too many chances. To have the strategy that Mizzou did, which was just to plant the spike so quickly. They're not really getting into post-plant that too often. And also the fact that I think they got to be looking back at round 3, the fact that they had a 2-on-1 and they lost it to an Omen with a Marshall who no-scoped.
Yep.
They got to make sure that they don't have scenarios like that play off, that they press these person advantages as far as they can when they get them.
Taking care of the recon goal early. Who else would it be than a Sova who knows the lineups? He's going to C1, C2, 3. Oh, the whole team there. The callouts go wild. And Mizzou is going to get the rotate quick. We're seeing a serious flank from around. Hopefully that manifests into something exciting in a little bit.
Southern Miss does have the first ultimate up. So we could be seeing the Shark ready to chomp down from that Gecko. Risky take on that ultimate orb, but Crinkles is going to be able to get away with it.
And we'd love to see it pay off in a little bit. He's backing up, just kind of making space. They're wondering if it was a fake out. And the holding tight that Southern Miss was able to do in short to convince them it might not be the case. Now they're coming all back together. They're calling the bluff, and as people move up the stairs, Theosin from around the long side sees a few, but it's not quite enough. He goes down, Crinkle stag, constant taking, each going to take one before one goes down, and they almost, near flawless take it, and all in the course of like 5 seconds.
That was a really unfortunate scenario with the Sheriff there. Just kind of started firing away, but didn't really find any headshots. There's no more gun that'll punish you. Yeah, like right here. He's trying to follow him, get the wallbang on point, but doesn't work out, and no gun will punish you more for missing your headshots than a Sheriff.
Leave them no escape. Standing ahead.
As we start out round 6, Mizzou has a comfortable lead against Southern Miss. Seems like they're keeping C open as an option, though, Southern Miss. Concha almost gets a sight line onto that Omen, but that Omen's going to be able to walk away.
Yeah, and it goes both ways. They're going to be wary as they come around the corner here. It's going to have to be a big jump double peek. Oh, they hear the op sound off against that Aldro coming around the corner. That's all the information that utility is worth. They're going to play it nice and easy, throwing in a little bit of vision denial, forcing the jet back a bit to take a more advantageous angle in the short, and they're going to ignore it. They don't want any of that action. Threatening a little bit of B-box instead. Theosin
Right there.
is going to be leading the fight with the Sova. Setting the initiator in. Oh, they see just a little bit of utility out of the corner. They're going to send in Jet to jump right up on top and take the Panopticon angle before dropping back down into backside to hold a beautiful pinch on both of these lines.
Plant does go down, but that Hunter's Fury, oh, it's so relentless. They do manage to get the plant, but they have to pay for it with their life.
Plant could be it, though. Piggy playing through the wall a little bit, very threatening as it comes incredibly close to the head. And Jwen, oh, big one from the side just for being quiet, and a second one as he moves up isn't going to get got through the wall, though it is so close. Conch with a lust for it. Goes full lying in with the mid-air shorty. It's all worth it. Raikou gets a third shot and takes down the round. It's 4v2, looking a lot closer together.
And that's not just the round 1, but crucially an op taken away from Mizzou.
Oh, look at that. It was just so close. But the info's just not there, and they lose a Sova to it. And then again, spray through the wall. Jaywin holds a beautiful position, and it's enough to taunt out a charade. A great bait and switch. Finished off by the man that barely survived that wall bang earlier.
Southern Miss has built up a whole bunch of ultimates, but those knives aren't going to be a factor as Conch immediately gets a pick with that op. Trying to get a little bit more information with the owl drone. Q is holed up just outside of lobby.
Looks like that risk to run down C long only pays off so often, as we see a little bit of utility holding off C. And they'd rather consider a dangerous consideration considering Conch.
Mm-hmm.
It's holding the angle
Oh,
tight.
they're not.
Oh! And they pause right in the fire. The most dramatic. It's not going to quite make the flick, though, and Jaywin is going to call it a charade. And I don't know if they know it, but they've cleared it out.
It's getting a little bit greedy going for that second.
A good shadow step just to play it safe across the angle. And they're looking to move to C. It's W Panda's playground. He can't hold it, though. Jaywin is going to find it, and they get all the space they need to move straight up as a defensive hold. Jaywin is going to try to clear any quick rushes onto the site. Oh, Theozen gets hit with the rolling thunder, and the concuss is enough. Piggy and Crinkles take one and fight for the last on the Q, holding in another defensive point for Mizzou.
Despite losing their op, Mizzou has enough to just rebuy. While Southern Miss is going to be forced on to a partial buy round. Although I'm not sure if I'm too much of a fan of a partial buy round if you just go for a full save. We'll see just how, we'll see next round the full picture, if they will have enough to get full rifles and shields.
Yeah, I was going to say Raiku's looking to play confidently, holding on to 1,500 credits and a classic. Just knives and a dream, but it looks like the utility is absolutely shutting down this point. They're going to have to go in blinds. They're prepping the get out of jail free card. Looking in with the classic just to take out the turret. No reason to waste those. And the dash isn't quite used. Q coming in for the plant.
Spike planted.
And the defender's coming out of the woodworks. His Biggie stayed quiet for so long and it got him 3K off of it. Super shy to fight the ace and grab kill 4. They're bordering on a flawless and getting greedy to finish off the round. Look at these two fly in for player 8. Defenders hold in the round.
Just trying to save. Ow, barely gets away with it.
Lives under fire. I would be shaking. Lobster survives to see the next round with gun in hand, but only barely. And ultimates are down, honestly. Mizzou is holding the advantage in momentum as well as ultimates here. University Southern Miss has a little bit of a cred advantage in their jet, as they got an effective save last round.
Oh man, this is disconcerting when he's just holding his util like that.
Piggy is not afraid to wait. He's got that third Jing mastered.
And waits till just the right moment, swings around, picks up with the help of Super Shy a double. He'll be happy with that.
Oh, definitely. Took a lot of damage though, so it's going to be a big back pedal off of this site there. And look for a little bit more supportive positions. Q took a lot of damage the same though. Southern Miss is feeling a little bit off here. Ooh, the heat sensor goes out onto Lobster. Crinkles playing through the wall for it. Not going to find a lot though, it is threatening.
Scanning ahead.
Smoke's coming down,
There they are.
rendering Crinkle's position a little less exciting as the three looking to make their way into the box. Lobster holding up the rear. Q low on health and Theozen leading the charge. Oh, no! The worst giveaway. Oh, the very tip of the barrel. It feels like you're never in charge when it comes to how much of their gun you can see. You just have to face the wall as you walk around, and Conch
This place
with
is
the
nice,
off.
but not nice enough to die
Just
in.
plays with
Let's
them
win and
then.
get out of here.
Takes 2 of the 3 and closes up that round. Let's see it again.
It wasn't even the one who had
man.
their barrel. It was this Omen who was just looking the wrong way, did not take into account the fact that there usually is an opper on site C.
Yeah.
And that just comes down to knowing your angles and making sure you remember in your mind just every possible area that they could get. Oh, look, there's the wingman. And that's all for the wingman. We'll get him back and see if maybe just wanted us to see him because it seems just throwing it out as much as he can. Okay.
Ooh, Lob's looking to play through the wall. Good spray retracing. It's not quite going to be fast enough as W Panda gets a big swing on the Lobster and has more of the gun advantage as far as distance goes. Defender Killjoy's going to be popped right as the spike goes down. And look at this, they're stomaching it, they're holding it. They're going to go pushing in, telling Mizzou, hey, just because you popped it doesn't mean you own this space. J-Win to find one, and the lockdown's destroyed. They called the bluff and are back on the spike in time for Crinkle's dad to appear. Take one with the knives, and amidst the smoke, Crinkles gets a free 1-2. Piggy, another to close it up. W Panda with an easy defuse, looking at a near flawless round for 0.8.
And other than just kind of the general ebb and flow that you would expect, in the first half, obviously the other team's going to probably win round 3. Maybe there's a win here or there just when they finally are able to full purchase again. Mizzou is just on the track that they would want to be for a team that wants to close this out quickly.
Especially for a team that position themselves to look more comfortable on the offense. I mean, we can see that there's a little bit of a difference here. They are losing the occasional point. It's not quite the 13-0 that we thought we might be able to see from last round. But wow, what a beautiful placement. It's going to render him as blind as you can get, and he has to play on the back foot. Conch moving out of the way as Wingman narrows his sights. Look at that guy run.
More breach util thrown out into the window. Panda deciding he does not want to take that face off. There were more people from Southern Miss that could face him, so he'll just wait that one out. Conch gets caught from the side by Q, followed by Thiozen. Southern Miss might just have a second win to plant. They got to decide, though, right now, do they either want to try to go on toward B and C? C means that they have to go through more of that KJ util. And there goes the Rolling Thunder out. I don't know if it hit the Killjoy, however. I don't think so. She's still positioned right up to take her eyes on that doorway. Just one peek out, and you'll be taken out by the op that Super Shy still has.
30 seconds.
Now Piggy's going for a great flank, also through Garage. I don't know how aware they are of it. Okay, they do have the Omen turned around. Swarm Grenade's going to be thrown down. I'd say if you could just take him at 2 separate angles at the same time, you're pretty. Thiozen takes out Super Shy. There's the op dropped.
Yeah, that off drop was just not quite replicated there. W Panda looking to
One
make their
enemy
way
remaining.
up just one smoke at a time. There's a small gap there that's definitely scary. That's something that Piggy would camp on. So they know they can expect it from the other team as Q is still somewhere in the site and they're dumping utility on him. Just trying to find this man, and there it is. What a flick. Do they have enough time?
It's going to be really, really close. They got it.
No problem.
They got it. They got it.
4.5 left. Yeah, Piggy is the definition of don't take a fair fight.
Last
We just saw in this
round
last
before
round,
the
they
switch.
threw out the Rolling Thunder, and it got all 3 of them, but they just weren't quite there in time, or they didn't like the feel of it, so they took a big rotate around and decided to camp from the front instead. Piggy does not charge in, and so many times have caught the cheeky angle off the side. It's something you have to be careful of when you're going against the Oh.
So Mizzou has a chance to either end this 10-2, at the worst case scenario 9-3. Fortunately for Southern Miss, 2 of them are going to have to settle for small shields. Do see the thrash be brought out. Is that shark gonna find anybody? Not for the moment. There's one ultimate gone.
Saw you, Mosh.
And the Mosh does also misses, doesn't go up into the window, so that actually keeps Southern Miss at bay.
Yeah. And that's just a little bit of a fumble there, though he may be just
Oh
trying
no!
to...
Oh no! They didn't know at all!
Spike down A.
Wrinkles and Panda taking space they didn't deserve, just absolutely stealing it. Oh, making that a flawless .10 in the filthiest manner.
Switching sides.
And as the side switch comes out, it could be a short one, but Southern Miss also could find 2 points to get them up to halfway. Look at that. That was just ridiculous.
None of them were looking over in that direction. Absolutely none.
Never.
And I understand that you gotta take, you gotta have a person advantage when you take a peek, but I mean, a double peek is good enough. You should still have some team members covering the off angles, making sure that no one's gonna flank you.
Yeah, a lot of eggs in that basket there. I think it was the noise cue though. And if you don't have everybody trusting each other on the team as to who's looking where, then when someone surprises you on A long, nobody's watching A short. And so that pinch was, yeah, they shouldn't have gotten away with it.
We're gonna go into the second round. Southern Miss picks up the ult orb as Mizzou slowly makes their way up A long.
Oh! Some early and some cheeky hold from Mizzou, but the back and forth is there this time. Southern Miss is not going to be caught off guard. They make the appropriate trades and it's 3-3. The site is theirs. They're coming in clutch to find a plant.
Here.
We hear the pings come out. Defending the plant, it's looking much better. They're able to get in time, take a little bit of damage. That's all right.
Nice placement on the Mosh. Gonna get a little bit of chip damage.
Holding tight, just setting the site up. Lobster putting all the right ingredients together for a good retake, and look at that line. Oh, they had all the time to be so deliberate with the shot, but it was just long enough to get caught from the side. It's another trade. There is one from W Panda.
My goodness.
To find another
I need
point
to
from the
see that
attackers.
again. That was instant. As he was moving, he was just sliding over toward the left. And then, like, for the one frame that he had Southern Miss in his sights, he just tapped. You're gonna see this right after here. He just slides over to the left and then, oh man, I think he kind of got lucky there on the spray, to be honest. He was aimed a little bit up and to the left. I mean, hey, you'll take it.
Turret out.
Now we go 11-2. Mizzou position themselves in a very comfortable position. They'll be at match point when they go into their bonus. And then that's going to force Southern Miss, should that scenario play out, to basically win 10 in a row.
Yeah, that is not something you want to be looking at. Ooh. The 5-1 stack just rolling up nice and smooth. They do have a controller kind of lurking around, hoping for some funny business, making sure they don't lose a lot of flank space. Simon does leave an opening from window, though.
Good info from the Owl Drone. Gets info on where both players are holding down A. And after seeing where they are, they're going to regroup with Super Shy. Maybe think about taking an alternate route. Slowly moving back over toward B. And if they're able to rotate quickly enough, all they have to deal with is this KJ.
The lineup is ready. Diozen.
You have the lineup ready, but unfortunately your character model just looks weird while it happens.
Yeah, that
Looks like he's just enamored with the sky.
He's a real meteorologist.
I'm saying, you take your lineups where you have. I mean, that's the way to do it. I'm just saying. It looks a little weird for your character in game.
Diozen just threatening the box there. You got to know that wall is 100% bangable. But a lot of the players, behind the box, and the heat comes out. That's a free one. Piggy under fire as well. They grab him. What a good shot for the info there. Conch under serious fire. He's got to back right up, but he's standing on the spike in all the smoke. Crinkle's dad gonna make a small trade here. It could be worth it. 2-for-1 punch right up close. Don't take a fair fight. Absolutely can't. He's gonna grab another one, and just like you said, here it is, match point.
10 rounds need to be won. Southern Miss, I do think they'll probably take this round, but then it's just the 9 rounds after that. That's really the doozy. We'll see. Will we close out the night with another sweep? Both the games would be decided. I do see what you were pointing to, Greg. Unfortunately, I think we were getting baited with the Odin choice.
I hate the Odin baits. I thought we were going to close the night out with an exciting...
Yeah, you just go all Omens.
Just bullet dump, yeah. Odin's for everybody. It's not quite the call, though. They want to be nice. Mizzou wants to play a good game. Southern Miss is playing defensive here, moving back. Oh, the flash right, and just to see the jet come soaring towards your face, it's scary. Conch is going to take one and a lot of space. Look at that. Throwing the vision denial even further back. That cloud burst is threatening. You don't know who could be inside of it. And they can't push up. B-Box under absolute fire. Crinkle's dad. Now they have all the pinch potential they could ever need. W Panda looking to come around.
I think more importantly, the spike was planted so quickly that now this Hunter's Fury, that Sova is just waiting back. He's gonna time it out so that no one can touch that spike. He's actually just gonna go for the elimination right off of there. Leave the stall to the KJ.
No.
Tries to go for the knife, doesn't find it. This point though, it's a 3-on-1. All of them have their sights set on that spike. And Mizzou wins it 13-2 in Haven. Pretty solidly well decided. So the second game turns out much like the first. A pretty convincing sweep in favor of Mizzou. So congrats to them for winning that. And that is going to end the Valorant lineup that we have here tonight. Greg, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I think it was good. I really appreciate and applaud all the teams that, despite they felt like they were rolling the boulder up the hill, just kept pushing. It looked good. All the timeouts were called at necessary times, and people just kept playing. It's always good to see. Makes the crowd happy, and it makes for a good game.
Well, that does it for tonight. As you can see over our shoulders, we had our first match, Wichita State versus James Madison. Wichita State won, and then Mizzou is the victors for the second. So congratulations to those two universities for pulling out their victories. And now just a little bit of light housekeeping. Tomorrow we're going to have Rainbow Six here on Naystar League, so be sure to tune in tomorrow for that. And if you want to catch more Valorant, then tune in next Wednesday at the same time. We'll have 4 more universities ready to battle it out against each other in 2 more matches. And of course, a thank you to all of our sponsors that we have: Extra Life, Duncan, Truth, Odyssey Elixir, and Monster Energy. Thank you all for supporting Naystar League. Thank you all out there for watching. That's going to do it for us tonight. We'll see you next time.
They're going to go pushing in, telling Mizzou, hey, just because you popped it doesn't mean you own this space. J went to find one, and the lockdown's destroyed. They called the bluff and are back on the spike in time for Crinkle's dad to appear. Come on, take one with the knives, and amidst the smoke, Crinkles gets a 3-1-2. Piggy, another. Yeah. And that's just a little bit of a fumble there, though he may be just
Oh
trying
no.
to...
Oh no, they didn't know at all!
Spike down A.
Crinkles and Panda taking space they didn't deserve, just absolutely stealing it. Oh, making that a flawless.